All people in their lives strive for some dream or goal, for example, to become rich, influential, or to comprehend the truth and meaning of life. But some people are not like everyone else. This man wanted to be strong. This desire for strength remained with him even in his second life. In this fight, we see one man fighting against a large crowd. They shout at him, asking if he knows who they are. The men got tired of the boy's strange movements and decided to attack him all at once. However, he manages to avoid being surrounded by them and uses a special fighting technique called capoeira. He managed to knock one of the men down. The remaining men decide to team up and attack him, thinking that he will not withstand their attack. But he surprises them with a series of kicks using basic taekwondo techniques. One of the men insults him, calling him an insolent boy and telling him to prepare to die by an axe. But instead, the boy uses another capoeira kicking technique and defeats all his attackers. He laughs at them and asks if it was the best they could do. One of the men complains that the unknown fighter is keeping them at a distance with his strange movements. The boy tells him to shut up and accuses them of starting the fight when he was just minding his own business. He attacks them again and warns them that they are all in big trouble. They are very scared and decide to run away because they think he is a demon. Their leader beats one of his own as he tries to escape and calls him a worthless man. The leader then tells the young man that his skills are just tricks and tricks, but he cannot defeat a real master with these dirty tricks. The leader explains that the strength of a true master depends on how he uses his inner energy. He wants to show the boy how it's done. So the leader attacks the boy and challenges him to try to block his movement with his monkey jumps. But the boy uses his boxing and cross-punching techniques and punches the leader right in the face. The young man asks the leader what he was talking about all this time. A boxing ring appears in his memory where two boxers are fighting and the audience applauds loudly and expresses their delight. The announcer announces that Master Perfect Kang Sang-hyuk is back with a powerful cross-counter, a punch that lands straight at challenger Daro Antioanto. Daro Antioanto is knocked out and the commentator states that Master Perfect has won again with a record of 432 victories and 18 defeats. They announce the champion's name, Kang Sang-hyuk. They wonder who can stop this incredible winning streak. The reporter congratulates Kang and says that he has overcome false news that his health is deteriorating. He defended his title again. The reporter asks that Kang mentioned in a previous interview that he had something to say. Tell me, after this match you will leave, is it true? Kang confirms this, saying that it is true. Kang then tells them that this match will be the last of his career. All the reporters are surprised and ask if there is a reason for this sudden decision. Another reporter wonders whether Kang's selection is related to rumors about his deteriorating health. Kang tells them it's true. When asked about his health problems, Kang explains that he has serious health problems. Champion Kang's manager, who is sitting next to him, asks the reporters to let him explain everything. The manager explains that long matches and intense training caused Kang's body to rapidly deteriorate. Reporters understand this, noting that Kang has been involved in the sport for 30 years and competes in very difficult mixed martial arts competitions. Kang holds the record as the longest-serving champion and everyone is wondering if this is the end of Mr. Perfect. The manager then announces that due to champion Kang's health, they will end the interview here. Kang thinks to himself of Mr. Perfect, a nickname he earned after becoming a legendary figure in the world of mixed martial arts. From early childhood, he demonstrated incredible success in martial arts. He is trained in many martial arts such as boxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, wrestling and many more. Kang became a champion just 3 years after he began his mixed martial arts career. He was unbeatable, with an amazing winning streak and many records, but now Kang has been involved in the sport for more than 30 years and he has to accept it. He defeated everyone in the ring, but time defeated him. He is seriously and incurably ill. The treatment will take a long time and the result is unknown. Kang's heart wants to continue fighting, but his body can't keep up. Fate has robbed Kang of any reason to continue living and he wonders what he has left. Kang has always been lonely in life and it looks like he will remain lonely in death. There is no point in living any further. Isn't it better to die now invincible and in the rays of glory? The light is fading. A century of lawlessness, chaos and endless wars. The Jun Kingdom spread across the continent and fought with those around it. Even though the Jun Kingdom was not as strong as some other major countries, it was very resilient. This was due to the technique of spiritual development that came from India and was taught by Bodhidharma. They combined this with fighting skills to create martial arts. Other countries often tried to control and suppress groups that practiced these martial arts called Murima schools or sections. But the king of the kingdom, John Jusan, saw that these Murim sects had valuable power. It could help them win wars, therefore he supported and protected them. Jusan's successor, Jusan, continued to help them. He even made an agreement that the royal family and the Murim sects would not attack each other after the continent was unified. Eventually, the June kingdom became the most powerful. This marked the beginning of the golden age of the Murim sections. However, from time to time, conflicts arose between the traditional sects and the demon cult, which was supported by the dominant religion of the time, the White Lotus. This led to a cycle of good and bad times throughout history. The boy learns all this from a book called Juji Jin Book. 2. He closes the book. He finds Murim's history very interesting, especially the one called martial arts. The cleaning lady then comes in and asks the boy Yun wait if he is here again. She reminds him that they can't let him sneak in all the time because the king will be upset. Young says he's really sorry and thought it might be awkward for the woman. The woman tells Young that this is her job and asks him to let her know in advance next time. Young agrees and says he understands. The woman asks Young where he's going now and he says he's going to play again today. Young mentions that he might be back a little late. The lady reminds him to come home before dinner. Young assures her not to worry and runs away. The woman watches him leave and comments on why boys his age have so much energy. She adds that every time Young leaves, she worries that he might get into trouble. The man nearby agrees with her, saying that he is also worried. In fact, he thinks that the young master from the Golden Tiger Wall will be worth a lot of money, so he hopes that no one else will have time to kidnap the boy. Young reaches the jungle and begins doing stretching exercises. After a while, he decides that this is enough and begins to practice boxing techniques. The voices repeat the words, Mr. Perfect, #1 in the world and the strongest man in the world. His opponent arrives and everyone wonders what match they will see today. The battle begins. Young's opponent launches a high attack, but Young easily dodges it. He plans to measure the distance with low kicks and wait for the right moment. However, the enemy uses a cunning move. Young at first thinks it's a tackle, but then realizes it's a trick. Young continues to practice his moves, punching and kicking into the air among the trees. The man who has been watching Young from afar wonders what Young is doing alone. Young continues to train, and when he kicks the tree, it splits in two. Young is amazed by the incredible power of martial arts, especially considering that he is only 9 years old. In his thoughts, Young reflects that 9 years have passed since he was reborn. In this world of Murama, with memories of his past life, he wonders if this world is a dream or reality, and whether the person he was in the past is his true self or who he is now. Young believes that he was lucky to be reborn in Murim, because in his previous life, he could not fulfill all his desires due to the laws and rules of decency that existed there. Murim is a universe where issues of life and death are resolved with the help of force. Nothing holds him back here. He will once again make a name for himself that will rock the world, this time with his modern martial arts. The man who is watching Young is shocked, and exclaims that it is impossible for a child to have such power. Young comes closer and notices that it looks like he had an observer. He then asks the man why he was secretly watching him, and he replies that the boy's father ordered him to monitor his son's safety. Young then mentions that he thinks the man saw all of the training Young did. The man apologizes for this. Young thinks to himself that the situation is not good. He is worried about what might happen if his father finds out about this. Young's father is the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall, one of the 10 largest business clans, with a lot of power in the Central Plains business scene. Although they rank last among these clans, they have a good reputation for their generosity and adherence to the dominant religion. Leader Jan Jiho had 2 daughters from his only wife and a son named Jan White. Leader Jiho asks his son Jan if it's true that he practices martial arts, which is practiced by bandits and rabble. Jan denies it, saying it wasn't him. However, his father gets angry and wonders if Jan would dare to lie. He tells Jan that he heard about him rolling on the floor and practicing punches and kicks. The father asks if this is the kind of martial arts that random street thugs use. Young responds by saying that these are advanced techniques that will soon be called by his name, and he learned them from a certain master. Dad tells Young that if he's going to lie, at least make it believable. Young is disappointed that his father didn't believe him. His father tells Jan to stop talking nonsense, and says that if Jan wants to study martial arts, he should do it like an aristocrat, not a beggar. He suggests finding Jan a good master and even mentions the nearby Manhwa school. He asks if Young wants to become a novice there. Young refuses, saying he doesn't want to. He adds that the martial arts he learned are amazing and advanced, no worse than what they have. The father's anger flares when he demands an explanation from Young for his seemingly absurd position. He cannot understand this sudden change in Young, who has always been an obedient son. In response, father states that he will send Young to Manhwa sect in 10 days and will not tolerate any objections. However, Young has a proposal. He asks his father about the real reason he was sent to the Hua Mountain sect. He suspects that his father has acquaintances. Young proposes a bet. Father must find a martial artist from Manhwa to come and fight him, and then the father will see that his son has nothing to learn at school. If Jan loses, he vows to obey his father's orders without question. On the other hand, if he emerges victorious, the father will not interfere with his studies. The father, with a sly smile, agrees to this bet, believing that he has caught his son in a trap. They give each other their word as men and seal the deal. But Young realizes that his father has more on his mind than meets the eye. The father notices Young's determination, but believes that there is no way Young can win. His opponent will be none other than the disciple of Ki Hyakdo, the first elder of the Hua Mountain sect, known as the Plum Blossom Warrior. This fighter is very strong in battle, almost on par with a top-notch fighter. A girl attacks a boy, and there is not the slightest fear on her face, but only confidence in victory. Despite her efforts, the boy skillfully parries her attacks, calling them the Manhwa crossblock. She decided that she did not put in enough effort, and decides to make every effort. The girl uses the stab fighting technique, and the boy uses the six-step sword. She decisively defeats him, and he praises her for getting stronger every day. He even suggests that it may soon become the first butt of Manhwa. Grateful for his support, girlfriend Kong Yunhua promises to work even harder. Their teacher, watching from the sidelines, admires Yunhua's talent, his personality, and he briefly wonders what it would be like to have a daughter. Ki Hyakdo, the Plum Blossom Warrior, the first elder of the Hua Mountain School, devoted his whole life to cultivating talents, and did not find time for marriage and relationships. Hyakdo shares the news that an old friend has invited them to his home. Yunhua is very excited, and asks if she can have sweets there. Hyakdo assures her that it won't be just sweets, there will be a lot of other delicious food. Yunhua's eyes light up as she wonders if there will be more dumplings. She is completely ready for this. Hyakdo chuckles, and agrees that there will be dumplings, but also mentions that there is one condition. Hyakdo explains that his friend's son, around the same age as Yunhua, is learning some strange and low-grade martial arts. The friend is worried and wants Yunhua to teach his son a lesson, and convince him to stop studying martial arts this time around. Hyakdo asks Yunhua if she can do it. Yunhua enthusiastically agrees, saying that he will teach him a lesson. Several days have passed, and the people at the Golden Tiger Wall training ground are discussing the upcoming battle with the Manhwa sect disciple. Concerns arise about Yang's chances. It is rumored that his opponent is an aspiring martial artist from the Manhwa sect. Yang's father silently believes that Yang needs a major setback to bring him to his senses. Hyakdo arrives with Yunhua and apologizes for the wait. Father Yang asks if their accommodation was suitable last night. Hyakdo expresses gratitude for the hospitality. Yunhua also thanks Yang's father for his hospitality. Yang is outraged that he is being asked to fight a child. Yang's father reminds him that he is a child too. The father suggests starting sparring now that the introductions are complete. Hyakdo agrees and asks Father Yang to take a seat in the audience. He clarifies that since this is a competition and not a fight to the death, the swords will be wooden. It is strictly forbidden to inflict serious injuries on the enemy. The moment one of them admits defeat or falls unconscious, the other will be declared the winner. Hyakdo assures that if they feel there is a risk of serious injury, they will stop the match immediately. Having established the rules, Hyakdo announces the start of the match between Yong Huitai and Kong Yunhua. Yunhua introduces herself as Manhwa sect's fourth-ranked novice, Kong Yunhua. She explains that she will use the six-sword combination technique. Yong introduces himself as Yong Huitai and strikes a strange pose. Yunhua wonders about Yong's strange posture and behavior. She believes that in a training match, it is customary to represent one sect in martial art and decides that her opponent is too arrogant. In response, Yunhua decides to try his best and win. Yong expects her attack. Yunhua uses his six-sword combination technique, and Yong doesn't use anything. He just goes ahead. Yunhua, however, finds Yong's approach pathetic, seeing him as a child without strategy or calculated movements. She believes that victory is in her hands. As they begin to wrestle, Yong puts his wrestling skills to use and quickly defeats Yunhua on his first try, takedown. And no wooden sword will help here. The enemy is fast and strong. Yong's father, teacher Hyakdo, and other spectators are amazed at such a quick and convincing victory. They've never seen anything like this. Yunhua protests, claiming that this is not martial arts but street fighting. Yong counters by saying that winning is all that matters in a fight. Mr. Perfect is not just a champion. He established a remarkable record, winning in all weight categories, from the lightest to the heaviest, one after another. His secret to success lies in the ability to exploit his opponent's weaknesses. During the fight, Yong hits Yunhua with a powerful blow, leaving a dent in the ground. Yong feels like a winner, but his father screams that the brat ruined the fight and now he's talking about victory. Yong is confused and asks if he really messed up. He explains that he stopped the fight because his opponent could not move and would have been seriously injured. However, his father scolds him, stating that what he was doing was not martial art but a street fight. Young asks why that's bad. He trains and achieves enlightenment. This is martial art. Young gives his father a headache. Hecto thinks the boy is right about something. It's amazing that Young can control his internal energy so well at such a young age. But as a martial artist, Hecto cannot consider what they are doing to be a real fight. Hecto talks to Yun and says that his fighting is no different from the martial arts of the demonic sex. Hecto tells Yun that martial arts is not just about becoming strong. They are also about being noble and improving your mind and body. But Yun asks Hecto, what is the difference between the invincible demon, a master of traditional martial arts, whose fame spread decades ago, and the king of eccentricity and nobility, who came from a demonic sect but fights nobly and honestly? This confuses Hecto and he asks Yun what he just said. 80 years ago, there lived an experienced and respected martial artist named Invincible Demon Bang Song, who was a member of an ordinary martial arts group. Later he discovered the abyss of evil within himself. He learned some forbidden and evil ways of fighting and used them to kill many people. These forbidden paths were also in a secret book that talked about how to control your bad desires and become a better person. But Pan Song misunderstood this and this made his evil desires even worse. Thus, he became the greatest villain of his age. And the king of eccentricities and nobility, Pyak Yomwi, has always enjoyed people's love. He is the leader of a street group. He wants to become super strong in martial arts and become one of the top 100 martial artists. Strict laws reign in his group. Hyung asks Hecto if learning the rules of martial arts makes you normal. Hecto believes that Yan's words make sense. He wonders if he was unfair in his thoughts all this time. He believed that people who follow strange paths seek only power, while those who follow the right paths are aimed at self-improvement and maintaining honor. But now he's not so sure. Hyung is puzzled by how seriously Hecto is taking this. He assumes that everyone has their own likes and dislikes. Suddenly, Hecto receives enlightenment. A blue glow surrounds him. Someone congratulates him and says it's great for their martial arts group. But Hecto downplays it, saying it's not that big of a deal. He just realized that he still had to study and study if the boy could do it in a dispute. Hyung finds it a bit corny, like in teen mangas. He wonders how Hecto achieved enlightenment because of what he said. Hyung then asks Hecto that he won their sparring anyway, right? Hecto hesitates a bit, but then agrees. Hyung excitedly tells his father that he won the bet. Father Hyung gets upset because he firmly believes in keeping promises. Hecto turns to Yen and thanks him, saying that he gained enlightenment thanks to Yen. Hecto then asks if Yen is ready to fight him. Yen gets a little annoyed and asks if this is really necessary. But his father scolds him, saying that this is a very rare opportunity. He tells Yen that he will be able to see the incredible martial arts of the Manhwa sect up close. Hecto adds a condition and says that if he is satisfied with their fight, he will reward Yen. Yen is surprised and asks what the reward is. Hecto explains that it appears that Yen has only learned one specific technique, but if he is happy with their fight, he will help Yen learn any other martial arts technique he wants. Yen is excited and asks if Hecto will really help him learn any technique he chooses. Hecto confirms this, but says it depends on how their fight goes. Then Yen adds something else. He asks what will happen if he defeats Hecto. Hecto deep down thinks that for a child who is not yet 10 years old, this is very self-confident. But he still agrees and adds that if Yen defeats him, he will be indebted to Yen. In his thoughts, Yen realizes that this is a great opportunity. He can learn a new technique, and the powerful elder from the Hua Mountain sect owes him. He notices Yunhua and feels a little sorry for her. Hecto prepares to fight and asks Yen if he is ready. Yang takes an unusual pose and confirms it. The battle begins. Both fighters appear unusually still, unlike the previous match. The atmosphere became quite serious. Yen admits that Hecto is truly a formidable martial artist, as he senses Hecto's inner strength and sees his aura. He decides that he must somehow get into close combat. Contemplating whether he should feign an attack and then retreat, Yang concludes that such a half-hearted maneuver will not work. He needs to cross the boundaries of the enemy's aura. He understands that weaker fighters often win by taking some damage in order to land a more powerful blow. Hecto is surprised and thinks, wow, can Yang really see the boundaries of my aura? Hecto decides to scare Yang a little and increases the aura. Yang is shocked and says that this is impossible because the aura is increasing. Hecto tells Yen that if he's just going to stand around and be afraid, he should give up and become a kid again. Hecto even tries to hit Yen with the weapon, but Yen continues to dodge. Hecto notes that Yang's footwork is quite interesting. Yang moves unpredictably and anticipates Hecto's attacks. Yang realizes that Hyetto doesn't take him easy just because he's young. Hyetto uses both real and fake moves and puts a lot of aggression into them. Yang believes that if he keeps moving like this, he might find an opportunity to attack. So Yang gets down and says, "This is it," and tries to hit Hyetto. But there is a sword in the way of his hand, which blocks his blow and the boy hangs on it. He's in a lot of pain, but he doesn't make a sound. Hyetto admits that if Yen continues to improve, he will become incredibly skilled. He feels the need to teach Yang a lesson of failure, to help him grow. But then suddenly Yang grabs Hyetto's hand, saying that it's his turn. And he wants to answer with dignity. He uses wrestling techniques. Hyetto realizes that Yang is willing to sacrifice a little in order to deliver a powerful blow. Young's father notices this strange technique again. Young uses a jojitsu technique called the elbow punch. Young realizes that he caught Hyetto with this move, no matter how experienced Hyetto is. Once trapped in this submission hold, it will be difficult to escape. Hyetto pushes Young hard with his hand, and Young wonders how strong Hyetto's inner strength is. Hyetto then picks up Young and throws him to the ground with force. Help, the child is being killed. That's the last thing Young thought. Young passes out and later wakes up in his bed. His body is bandaged and he is in pain. Young realizes that he has lost the fight. Although it is disappointing, Young believes that the experience has brought him some benefit. He believes that everyone has moments of victory and defeat in life. Even if you're upset about losing, you shouldn't give up. Someone outside the room announces that Young is finally awake, and they enter. This is Hyetto. Hyetto asks Young how he felt. Young asks, "How does it feel?" Hyetto says, "Losing for the first time in your life is pretty bittersweet, right?" Young replies that this is not the first time he has lost. Hyetto asks, "Oh really?" He didn't expect to find such an experienced guy like Young in this field. Hyetto tells Young that if he intends to follow his own path in martial arts, he has some options. Hyetto then asks Young if he is training to become stronger or just wants the excitement of battle. Young replies that he just wants to enjoy the fight. He believes that it is more effective to try to improve existing martial arts instead of learning completely new ones. Hyetto asks why Young then avoids studying existing martial arts. He notes that these different martial arts have their own strengths. Hyetto asks Young if he is willing to give up these benefits. Young realizes that Hyetto is right. Young believes that he was stubborn by ignoring well-developed martial arts in this world and adheres to the modern martial arts of his previous life. He realizes that criticizing Elder Ki Hyetto before the fight was a contradiction. Hyetto finds Young truly charming as he seems to gain enlightenment himself. Hyetto is excited to see how much stronger Young will become the next time they meet. He wishes Young all the best until they meet again. Young stands up and thanks Hyetto. Hyetto invites Young to visit Manhwa next time and Young agrees, saying that he will do it. Hyetto then leaves, 10 years later. During this time the youngest master of the Golden Tiger Wall had grown into a respected teenager. Young goes outside and realizes that it is so bright, perhaps because he has not been out in the sunlight for a long time. He did not expect his isolated training to last so long, but during this time he managed to reach the highest peak level. After that fight with the schoolmasters, Young was able to break free from his father's control. He continued to practice modern martial arts and work on improving his internal energy. Young just finished a whole year of training in isolation and returned home. He goes to his father who was drinking tea and says that he has returned. His father asks if he's really back and Young confirms it. His father tells him to get out of the estate. This is unexpected for Young. His father wonders how long Young plans to continue training without doing anything else. He thinks that now that Young is older and stronger, he should explore the world and travel, and deep down his father hopes that his son will get married. Young explains that he wants to continue training to become even stronger in case he encounters unforeseen circumstances. He is afraid of encountering groups of martial artists while traveling. Young's father hits him on the head in frustration and asks if he's joking. He wonders why martial artists travel in groups. He believes that once Young reaches the highest peak level, he will be respected no matter where he is. He tells Young to visit his sister from the Nangon clan and introduce himself to her relatives as a first step. The Sword Emperor Nangon Jokian resides there and can accept his request for a duel. Young agrees. He orders Young to leave the next day. Young is surprised and asks if he really has to leave tomorrow. The next morning, Young informs his family and everyone at the Golden Tiger Wall that they won't be able to see him for a while. He assures them that he will send updates from time to time. Everyone advises him not to forget to eat on time and, if necessary, to use a carrier pigeon. They ask him to take care of himself. Traveling around Jianghu is something that Young has never tried in his previous life. There are many strong people in Murim and they should wait for Young. He believes that he will soon become the strongest man in Murim. Yun has a special glove that turns into a blade when he activates it. He was a little worried because he asked for this equipment himself, but it works fine. While in the forest, Yun looks around and says that he has finally gone on the trip he dreamed of to Jinaga. Really quiet, and he has a thought. He decides to fly and flies high into the sky, wondering if he should go faster. When he reaches the entrance to the city, a long line of people is waiting for him. One man in line wonders why there is such a long line outside the small town. He thinks that if he knew Qinggong, he could fly in and skip the line. The man behind him tells him to be realistic, saying that people can't really fly. At that moment, they see Young flying towards the entrance and landing on the ground. Young notes that Qinggong is really useful and asks where he is. The man explains that it is one of the 3 largest cities in Hunan province. Young asks how to get to Anhui province, and the man advises him to go to Luoyang. He suggests that if Young is not in a hurry, he should stay here for a while and enjoy a good meal at an inn that is known for its delicious dishes. The man suggests to Young, "How about we give it a try?" Young responds by saying that he will stay here today and thanks the man for the information. The man expresses his gratitude to Young for showing them the amazing sight. 2 men nearby ask each other if they saw this. One of them confirms this, saying that it is quite obvious from what Young is wearing. The man tells the other that their leader will really like this. In a tavern, 3 men chat while enjoying their meal. One of them asks the others if they have heard of someone called the Tyrant in Phantom Armor, King Mu Qiyun. The second man replies, of course Mu is one of the top 100 martial artists. The first person agrees and asks if they know about Ku. He explains that the Phantom Armor Tyrant King's disciple must visit the Nangon clan. The third person asks about the purpose of the visit. The first person reveals that the Phantom Armor Tyrant King owes a huge debt to the Sword Emperor, Sir Nangong Jushin. That's why he sends his disciple to bring him the gift. As a result, the Nangong clan prepares a formal reception for the disciple. Young overhears their conversation. While chewing his food, Young wonders if the Phantom Armor Tyrant King's disciple is also heading to the Nangong clan. He thinks that if things go well, he will be able to see the Phantom Armor Tyrant King's martial arts. Suddenly troublemakers arrive at the inn and demand that a path be cleared for them. The 3 men who were talking earlier wonder why these troublemakers are here and decide to run away to avoid any trouble. The troublemakers start kicking the door and breaking it down. Their leader, Kwang Swak, announces that the Dark Heaven sect will take control of the inn from now on. He assures everyone that if they cooperate, nothing bad will happen. People are wondering why a supreme martial artist is in such a place. Kwang calms them down, saying that they are here to meet the disciple of the Phantom Armor Tyrant King. Some men wonder if the disciple of the Tyrant King and the Phantom Armor is really here. Yun thinks to himself that he doesn't know who the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor is, but he will be in trouble because these troublemakers are after him. Quan approaches Yun and calls him the disciple of the Tyrant King in Phantom Armor, asking him to come with them. Yun is so surprised that he spills the water he was drinking. He tells Guan that he is not the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor. Quan insists that Yun shouldn't pretend not to know and says that it would be stupid not to recognize him in that armor. Quan convinces Yun not to worry, promising to spare his life if he gives up the gift meant for the Nangong clan. Quan thinks to himself that by taking the Elixir of Heaven's Ascension, a gift that Yun possesses, he will reach the level of Supreme Peak. Then this region will belong to Quan. Yun realizes that talking to Quan and his men probably won't work because they seem stubborn, so Yun decides he has no other choice. He gets up and starts to leave. One of Quan's men tells Quan that Yun is trying to escape. Quan asks if Yun really looks like he's running away. Yun looks back at them and invites them to come with him. They find themselves in a place among the trees. Quan tells Yun that it is not too late and asks him to give the Elixir of Ascension to heaven. Yun yells at Quan to shut up and insists that he is not the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor and attacks. This angers Quan and he asks Yun if he even knows who he is dealing with. Quan threatens to kill Yun because it seems like Yun wants to die. Quan attacks Yun with all his might, telling him to die. But Yun manages to dodge the attack and counters with a powerful blow using the spin kick. Back elbow technique. Quan is thrown into a tree, breaking it on impact. Quan's men are shocked and wonder how Yun could send a supreme martial artist flying with just one blow. Yun yells at Quan's men and asks what they are looking at. He warns them that they are in trouble too. The men start screaming at each other, telling each other to run away because they think the Tyrant King's disciple in the Phantom Armor is causing chaos. The next day the 2 men are talking again at the hotel. One of them wonders what happened to the disciple of the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor yesterday. The other guy says he's curious too. The first man explains that since Yun was taken away by first martial artist Invincible Single Shield and his followers, he doubts that Yun escaped without getting hurt. Another man suggests telling the authorities, although it is too late. He feels sorry that a young man like Yun became a victim. The first man asks what if they face retribution when the troublemakers find out. They may get hurt if they find themselves in such a situation. Suddenly a man enters the hotel and shouts, "Big news!" The men ask him what happened, and he informs them that the invincible solitary shield and his group were defeated by the disciple of the tyrant king of the phantom armor. The man adds that what is even more amazing is that they are all alive, but their energy has been destroyed. People wonder if this is even possible. Another man says it's impressive to be able to stop criminals without killing them. Yun is truly the young dragon, the dragon who represents honor and justice. People rejoice at the appearance of this knightly dragon. Some people think that this means that the elixir of heaven's ascension is still in the possession of the disciple king, which will be great news for Chief Sadichek. Yun expresses disappointment. He can't believe that such weak people are causing problems in such a dangerous place as Murim. Quan and his men turned out to be much weaker than Yun expected. However, Yun is sure that supreme martial artists or incredible people must be somewhere in Murim. You never know. The child and the old man whom Yun accidentally met on the road could be the cause of the problem in this world filled with violence. Well, Yun thinks, but not the worthless and weak ones he contacted yesterday. Yun notices something in size. He tells whoever is hiding to come out now. The men hiding behind the trees note that Yun is much younger than they expected. Another says Yun looks fragile and weak. Yun asks them who they are. One of the men asks Yun if he has anything healthy. He asks if Yun is willing to share it with people as pathetic and weak as them. Their leader arrives and addresses Yun as the disciple of the tyrant king of the phantom armor. Yun gets very annoyed and tells them that he already said that he is not the disciple of the tyrant king of the phantom armor. The leader tells Yun that there is always someone better and then attacks him. He suggests that Yun try to use his ridiculous technique to defend against the attack. However, Yun responds by punching the leader hard in the face and throwing him to the ground. Yun looks back at the leader's followers and they all act scared, lying on the ground as if they were injured to avoid being attacked by Yun. Yun thinks he doesn't need to spare their lives, but since he already destroyed their energy sources, they probably won't be able to take revenge. Yun then muses that now that he has become a martial artist, he will not be able to avoid shedding blood. Meanwhile, somewhere a village is burning. A man who sits on his knees and cries begs for someone to save his life, mentioning that he has a wife and children. However, the other man refuses and attacks, killing him. The man tells the lifeless body that he shouldn't have crossed his path and that's why he had to destroy the entire village because it upset him so much. This person is the Fist Demon, the twin brother of the Palm Demon. Someone approaches the Fist Demon and tells him that they have no time to waste. They must find the Tyrant King's disciple in the phantom armor before he arrives in Nangong. This person is the Palm Demon. Fist Demon urges Palm Demon not to worry, saying that he is almost certain that the disciple has not yet reached Luoyang. Palm Demon asks Fist Demon how he knows this. Fist Demon replies that he has good instincts. Palm Demon finds it surprising that Fist Demon himself says this. They leave and behind them remains a destroyed village. In the forest, Yun calmly drinks tea with the men. One of them informs him that to get to Luoyang, he just needs to keep walking in that direction for about another half day. The man invites them to travel together as they are heading in the same direction. Yun agrees, thinking it's nice to have friends. He hopes that this will put an end to the pesky troublemakers following him. Yun also genuinely wonders who the current disciple of the Tyrant King in the phantom armor is. Suddenly there is a huge explosion that shakes the surrounding area. Yun acts quickly to ensure the safety of the men accompanying him. They gratefully thank him for his quick response. Yun advises them to leave the place immediately due to the existing danger. The Fist Demon and the Palm Demon arrive. Fist Demon addresses Palm Demon, confirming that his previous prediction was indeed accurate. The Tyrant King's disciple in the phantom armor has not yet arrived in Luoyang. Yun's voice rises as he yells at them, revealing that he is not the disciple of the Tyrant King of the phantom armor. Demon Fist asks if Yun expects them to believe his words. The Palm Demon on the other hand admires Yun's courage to speak to them so boldly. He explains that they are known as the Fist Palm Twin Demons, notorious villains from previous generations. These two were very bad criminals who liked to hurt people and kill for no reason. They became enemies of the Marima world and angered many people, but they were elusive because of their skill and animal instincts. Palm Demon explains that they planned to take a break until they reached a certain level, but they heard that Yun had the elixir of heaven's ascension. In response, Yun quickly kicks the Palm Demon, causing it to fall to the ground. The Fist Demon angrily scolds Yun, accusing him of cowardly attacking. He then tries to attack Yun. Yun realizes that the Fist Demon's attack is fast but straightforward, presenting an opportunity for him to close the gap. However, the Fist Demon lands a powerful blow on Yun, causing him great pain. Yun realizes that if it weren't for his armor, the Fist Demon could have ripped out Yun's heart. Demon Fist ridicules Yun, calling him a fool and asking if Yun believes he can anticipate the quick movements of Demon Fist's snake strike. The Palm Demon intervenes, telling Yun that he is not protected. He activates his cannon-shot palm and attacks Yun. However, when the dust settles, it becomes clear that Yun was unaffected by the attack. Palm Demon suggests that Yun is not an ordinary child. The Fist Demon suggests ending the confrontation as quickly as possible, and the Palm Demon notes that there hasn't been such an interesting goal for a long time. Yun realizes that both the Fist Demon and the Palm Demon are very skilled fighters, but they have similar fighting styles. The Fist Demon attacks Yun, telling him that regret won't help now. He activates his powerful Death Hurricane Fist technique. Yun realizes that he can't just dodge because the Palm Demon is waiting to attack him. Palm Demon notices that Yun is intentionally leading Fist Demon's attack in a different direction from his own. Yun also uses footwork that Palm Demon has never seen before. However, the Palm Demon doesn't allow a young man like Yun to make a fool of him. He activates his cannon-shot palm and attacks Yun. Yun runs after the Fist Demon. The Fist Demon asks if Yun thinks he can survive by just hiding behind him. He activates his quick snake lunge technique and attacks Yun, thinking that this is the end. Soon but Yun manages to kick Demon Fist so hard that he coughs up blood. The Palm Demon yells at Yun, demanding to know what he did to the Fist Demon. Yun shows the knife in his boot, and says that the twins were overtaken by karma for killing innocent people. The demon tells Yun to be quiet and attacks him, threatening to crush Yun into fine dust, saying that the elixir of heaven's ascension has no meaning. Palm Demon uses its powerful cannon-shot palm attack, striking Yun at full force, sending him flying. The demon scolds Yun for such arrogant behavior, believing that Yun turned to dust along with the elixir of ascension to heaven. However, to his surprise, Yun suddenly flies down from above, asking who turned to dust. The demon angrily asks Yun when he went into a jump. Yun advises them that if they want to save their lives, they should surrender now. Demon Palm warns Yun that even with Qing Gong, he won't be able to dodge this attack. He screams, palm cannon shot, and attacks Yun. In response, Yun uses the spin kick technique to counter-attack the opponent. The Palm Demon falls to the ground, blood pouring from its mouth. Fist Demon then asks Yun if he thinks he is any different from them. He states that the smaller number of people Yun killed, compared to the Fist Palm Demons, does not change the fact that Yun will eventually become addicted to killing and obsessed with it, just like them. Fist Demon ominously tells Yun that he will see him in hell and falls lifeless. With a mouthful of blood, Yun counters that they don't know for sure. Yun looks around the area, suspecting that someone is secretly watching him. He calls upon the hidden observer to reveal himself. The hider apologizes, admitting that he may have stumbled upon it by accident. He admits that he had the urge to help, but Yun's fighting skills were so dominant and impressive that he felt obligated to just watch. Yun wonders why the observer chose to remain passive rather than intervene. The man expresses sincere regret and offers to do everything to make amends, seeking Yun's forgiveness. Inwardly, Yun theorizes that the man may be affiliated with the Orthodox faction based on his polite manners and knowledge of martial arts observation etiquette. The columnist praises Yun for his remarkable skills, expressing surprise that he was able to single-handedly defeat the notorious criminal mercenaries, the Fist Palm Twin Demons. Yun is puzzled by the mention of a reward. He asks for clarification and asks if the government actually gave a reward to the criminals. The man confirms this, explaining that despite all efforts, the authorities were unable to apprehend these criminals and bring them to justice. Yun asks the man if he remembers saying he would do whatever Yun asked. He tells the man that in that case he should go and report this to the government. Loyang first, the man gratefully grabs Yun's hand and thanks him for his forgiveness. He introduces himself as Yun Tae-ho and promises to inform the government about what happened. Yun introduces himself as Yun Vaitai and tells Yun that they can meet again if fate allows it. At the Loyang Provincial Government Office, a man offers Yun a bag of gold and says that it was a great honor for him to personally meet the famous Night Dragon. Yun is surprised and asks, "Nightly Dragon?" He wonders when people started calling him such a scary name. Yun takes the bag of gold and asks if it is a reward for the twin demons of Fist and Palm. The man confirms this and mentions that there is about 1 gold niang in the bag. Yun mentally calculates that a typical commoner's monthly expenses are about 1 silver niang, and 1 gold niang is equal to about 100 silver niangs, so that's a lot. He is impressed that Yun Tae-ho kept his promise. As Yun leaves, he reflects on his expectations for wuxia stories, which feature the ancient Ming dynasty and often mentioned buildings. However, he is surprised to discover that this world is completely different. He had never heard of the Zhong Kingdom's attempt to unify the Central Plain. This world is more developed and civilized than he imagined. While taking a bath, Yun expresses satisfaction that he has found a technique that combines charm and magic, which is what he was looking for. He notes that the place is more like a fantasy world than the wuxia world he expected. Yun expects that he will learn more as he travels through this world. At night, while Yun is sleeping, someone enters his room and is looking for something. He checks to see if Yun is sleeping. The man gets upset, muttering that it definitely happened here. He wonders where Yun hid it. Yun suddenly spoke up, advising the man not to steal. With skillful precision, Yun blocks a person's acupuncture points. The person cannot move his body. Yun asks him if he found what he was looking for, and Yun Taeho addresses him. Yun Taeho is surprised and asks how Yun knew it was him. Yun responds by saying that he knew it from the moment Yun put the tracking scent on him when they shook hands earlier. Yun informs Yun that he must be mistaken in thinking that Yun is the disciple of the Tyrant King Phantom Armor. Yun changes the subject, telling Yun that now that he caught him red-handed, his life is in Yun's hands. Yun offers Yun a choice. He can either face death at Yun's hands or reveal his true identity. Yun taunts Yun, wondering if Yun, the Night Dragon, will harm him. He asks if Yun thinks it will scare him. Yun warns Yun that he still doesn't seem to understand the gravity of his situation. He asks if Yun thinks that Yun is incapable of resorting to torture. Yun then explains that he's giving Yun a chance right now. Yun is now very scared and asks if Yun is really the Dragon Knight of the Orthodox sect, and questions how he could engage in such activities. Yun denies these rumors, explaining that it is a coincidence that the people who attacked him were all villains. Yun tells Yun that he will now bring the scissors to begin the torture. Yun begs Yun not to torture him, saying that he will do as Yun says. Yun decides to take off Yun's mask first. Yun asks him to wait a minute, but Yun continues and takes off his mask. To Yun's surprise, he discovers that Yun is a woman under the mask. This discovery shocks him. The woman asks if Yun has any complaints about her real identity. Yun reflects on how the handsome guy he met in the wuxia novel turned out to be a woman. Yun thinks about what to do next. The woman, fearing that Yun might kill her or put her in jail, decides that she should take action. She asks Yun if he knows who she is. Yun asks about her identity, and she reveals that her mother is the leader of the Hao clan. Yun bursts out laughing, finding what the woman said incredibly absurd. He wonders why she was pretending to be a member of one of the three great clans of Luoyang. The woman angrily protests that she is serious and insists that her mother is indeed the leader of the Hao clan. She warns Yun that if he tries to harm her, she will kill him. Yun reassures her, saying that he believes her. The woman is surprised and asks if he sincerely trusts her. Yun explains that normally in such a situation, no one would impersonate the young leader of the Hao clan. If she really is the clan leader's daughter, then what she did was a mistake. The woman asks what Yun means by mistake. Yun informs her that thanks to her actions, he now has something he can use to control the situation over the Hao clan. Luoyang Pavilion is one of the three most famous buildings in Luoyang. It is known as a brothel, but what made it famous was a special wine called magic wine. Many influential and famous people visited this place. However, there is a secret of Luoyang Pavilion that only a few know about. It serves as the headquarters of the Hao clan. Yan enters Luoyang Pavilion with this woman. Hao clan leader Yun Xiaohian greets Yan. Yan expresses admiration for Xiaohian's composure, even though her own daughter is being held hostage. Xiaohian asks Yan if he is threatening her at this point. Yan suggests they stop acting and be honest with each other. He asks Xiaohian if she expected him to grab her daughter. Xiaohian asks why Yan thinks that. Yan explains that her daughter Yun Biwa has been a kleptomaniac since childhood, but this was the first time she had stolen so boldly. Yan tells Xiaohian that it wouldn't make sense if the clan leader didn't know about it. He explains that Biwa was able to hide, while the villains were chasing him because she had people from the Hao clan helping her there. Yan also notes that it was Xiaohian who spread the rumor that he was the Tyrant King's disciple. Xiaohian responds by saying that Yan's guess is a little far-fetched. Yan raises his voice, telling her not to pretend she doesn't know. He explains that the only organizations capable of spreading rumors so quickly are the beggars and the Hao clan. He adds that the proof is her daughter, who was captured by Yan. Biwa intervenes, shouting that this isn't fair. Xiaohian starts laughing and praising Yun, calling him amazing. She recognizes that Yun, a descendant of the Golden Tiger Wall, has exceptional abilities. Yun realizes that Xiaohian has figured out his past and is annoyed by how she is spreading false information about him. He asks Xiaohian how she plans to compensate him for this. Xiaohian asks Yun if he wonders why she did such things. Yun replies that of course he's curious, but he doesn't want to get into more trouble. He tells Xiaohian that if she compensates for the losses he suffered, he will act as if it never happened. Xiaotian comments that Yun acts like the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall and praises his speaking skills. She asks him what he wants. Yun explains his two requests. First, if the Golden Tiger Wall asks for help from the Hao clan, they must provide assistance at least once. Secondly, Yun asks for the Azure Wolf tablet. Xiaotian gets angry and asks if Yun thinks she's stupid. She believes these conditions are too complex to compensate. Yun counters by saying that the Hao clan caused him 3 significant losses. First, they spread false rumors, causing many people to chase him. Secondly, it strained his relationship with the Tyrant King of the Phantom Armor, one of the top 100 martial artists. The latest loss occurred when her daughter tried to steal from Yun in his room. Xiaotian gets angry and wonders how a young man like Yun, an outstanding martial artist, can radiate so much pressure and bloodlust. She realizes that the information about Yun was wrong from the beginning. Although Xiaotian is just at the beginning of her peak, she didn't expect someone Yun's age to be so formidable. She admits her mistake and says that she should have found out about Yun's level before taking any action. Xiaotian asks Yun about the last condition. Yun says it's not a big deal. He asks her to provide him with a list of Jianghu's top 100 martial artists. Xiaotian asks why if Yun plans to challenge each of them to a fight. Yun confirms this, saying that he needs this experience. Xiaotian admits that a rising martial artist like Yun could benefit from such challenges. She also reveals that it is true that the Tyrant King's disciple in the Phantom Armor possesses the elixir of heavenly ascension and plans to give it to the Nangong clan. Xiaotian informs Yun that she was asked to ensure his safe arrival and was paid a large sum for it. Yun understands and asks her why she is telling him this. Xiaotian apologizes for involving Yun in this incident. Yun says he's fine as long as he gets compensated and doesn't want to dwell on it. Regarding his daughter's misdeeds, Yun hopes that Xiaotian will punish her severely. Biwa protests and asks why she should be punished. Yun realizes that being on the list of the top 100 martial artists is a good deal. He reads the name of the rank 85 martial artist, Dam Hogue, and feels happy that Hogue is nearby. Yun decides that he must fight Hogue. Although Hogue is ranked among the top 100 martial artists, the world pays more attention to his eccentricities than his martial arts skills. Hogue is known for his eccentricity, especially his obsession with discussing topics such as names. Rumor has it that if you can satisfy Hogue with your words, he may give you a token, called a beggar's tablet, which proves your connection to the beggar sect. However, no one ever received this plaque. Yun greets Hogue and introduces himself as Yun White, a newcomer to the Maroon world. He pays homage to Dame Hogue of the beggar sect. Hogue asks Yun if he came to share interesting stories with him. Yun confirms this and claims that he knows many stories that Hogue has never heard of before. Hogue boasts that he has heard most of the stories in the world, but is intrigued by the prospect of hearing something new. However, he warns that if Yun's stories turn out to be ordinary, he will punish him. Following the pressure, Yun realizes that Hogue is an incredibly skilled martial artist. He ponders what stories he should use to entice Hogue. Yun gets excited thinking about sharing stories about wuxia and offers to continue their conversation at the hotel. Hogue insists that he won't drink with Yun until he recognizes him as a real guy. Narrator, later they find themselves in a cozy hotel. Hogue, eager to hear the continuation of the monkey story, questions Yun's abrupt pause. Yun playfully teases Hogue, telling him there is more to the story and urging him to enjoy the delicious food. Hogue, losing patience, demands that Yun continue the story. Yun is secretly pleased, his strategy seems to be working. He understands that any martial artist would love the famous story of Journey to the West. He debates whether to ask for sparring in exchange for this story. With a mischievous grin, Yun finally asks the question. Hogue firmly states that for such a short story, sharing the beggar sign, the symbol of the beggar sect, is out of the question. Yun reassures him by mentioning that he has a treasure trove of fascinating stories that he has yet to tell. Meanwhile at the next table, a man invites a lady to join him at the table, while the lady resists. The lady asks him to release her, and asks about his behavior, expressing obvious disinterest, sitting with him. Yun sighs, realizing that situations like this are common in wuxia tales, men hitting on women while drunk, just like in their previous life. The man continues to boast about his identity, claiming to be the young leader of the Shinte sect. He insists that the lady should feel flattered that he has shown interest in her. Yun can't help but intervene, chastising the man for his pathetic behavior. Angry, the man warns Yun, asking if he's looking for trouble. Suddenly, the lady takes matters into her own hands and slaps the man. Furious, he demands to know if she knows who he is. In response, the lady reminds him that he claimed to be the young leader of the Shinte sect, and delivers another loud slap, calling him an immature and spoiled brat. The leader of Shinte's group called the woman rudely, and drew his sword. Leader's followers insult woman. The woman asks them who made her sit with the leader even when she said no. She calls them all bad people. The leader tries to hit the woman with his sword. A woman defends herself from an attack. Hogue tells Yun that he doesn't think this woman is weak at all. Yun feels like he's seen things like this before. Scoundrels harass women and get punched in the face. The leader, whose attack is blocked, wonders why the woman is so strong. The man in the back tells the leader to stop waiting and just get rid of her quickly. But this man is kicked and he falls. Hoage stands over him and says he can't believe two grown men are attacking a woman. Hoage tells them that they should regret what they did. The fallen man yells at Hoage and tells him to stay out of it. Hoage throws another person from the leader's group into the air, and he collides with their leader, causing them both to fall to the ground. The fallen man yells at Hoage again, saying that he not only hit their young leader, but also knocked out his friend. The man tells Hoage that he made a big mistake, and asks if he thinks the Shin sect will let him get away with it. Hogue replies that they are the ones who made a big mistake, and wonders if they will know who the woman is, even after seeing the design on her iron fan. She is a direct descendant of the Jug clan, Jug Mua. The man gets scared and asks for confirmation. Did he really say Jug clan? The Mua woman asks Hoage how he could recognize her after seeing the pattern on her iron fan. Hoage says that the elder of the beggar ladies sect Hoage has no problem finding out. Mua greets Hoage and says it's nice to meet him, addressing him as Ser Dame Hoage. She says her name is Jug Mua, and she is new to traveling Murim. She mentions that she has heard about Hogue and his excellent reputation. Hoage tells her not to worry about it, as it's not that impressive. Mua expresses his gratitude to Hoage for his help. Hoage asks her why she is traveling alone if she knows martial arts. He is concerned that if she were to face a very experienced martial artist, she might be in trouble. Mua explains that although the Jug clan is not known for their martial arts skills, they excel in traps, devices, and academia. They also practice various types of magic. She mentions that if she meets a martial artist she can't handle, she will be able to summon a hungry golem, which is only taught to the direct descendants of the clan. Depending on the situation, she can also use space control magic. Young realizes that Mua is skilled in magic and even knows summoning magic. He's thinking about teaching himself if he ever gets the chance. Young asks if one of these people claim to be the young leader of the Shinte sect. Hoage wants to know why Young is asking and if he is worried. Young responds by asking why he would worry. Hoage chuckles and admits that he may have made a mistake. He assures Young that the Jug clan, one of the 5 great clans, will not be afraid of a small sect like Shinte. Hogue informs Young that, as a direct descendant of one of the 10 largest trading clans, Golden Tiger Wall, Young has nothing to worry about either. Mua excitedly asks Young if he is the son of the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall. Young privately believes that all the female character types found in wuxia stories are present here. He wonders if this place is the real world of Murim or just a virtual one. If it's virtual, then are all the people he's met and talked to fake too? Hoji notices Young's behavior and asks what happened. Young smiles and says that if the glitch /U00E9 still happens, he should deal with it. Now, Hoage is puzzled and asks, what kind of glitch /U00E9? In the Shinte sect, a young leader lies on a bed with a red mark on his face. Shinte sect leader Kong Siakju stands next to his son and angrily asks who dared to harm him. He asks his followers to find out who did this. The man explains that the young leader was relaxing at the hotel when this happened. Siakju is surprised and asks, at the hotel? Who is guilty? The man tells him that it was a woman, presumably from the Jug clan, an old man who seems to be from the beggar sect and an unknown young man. Siakju is worried because he knows that the Jug clan is one of the 5 most powerful clans and the beggar sect is also involved. He clenched his teeth, wondering what to do in this situation. Siakju decides that they must retaliate since the young leader of their sect was attacked. However, he realizes that the Shinte sect is not strong enough to fight both Jug and the Jug clan and beggar sect. Siakju asks the man about the last person involved, but he doesn't know all the information. He says that it looks like this man, Yun, met Jug for the first time. The man adds that it seems like he just recently met a member of the beggar sect. Hearing this, Siakju smirks, thinking that the last person must not be that important. Siakju orders the man to find the last person and bring him here. However, the man hesitates and suggests that he deal with this person first before taking action. Siakju disagrees, stating that even if a person has connections, he is still a better choice than the other two. Since they do not know each other well, it will not be easy for them to interfere in their affairs. Siakju firmly orders the man to bring this guy here immediately and asks if he understands. Additionally, Siakju informs his man that if Yun resists, he should beat him severely. Suddenly they are attacked with rocks, and Siakju and his man wonder what it is. In the midst of the chaos, Yun appears and delivers a powerful blow to the man's face. This action enrages all of Siakju's people, who demand to know how Yun dares to cause trouble in this place. They try to attack Yun, warning him that he won't be able to leave here alive. In the midst of the confrontation, Yun thinks to himself that clichés are best when they are subverted. Yun operates using his martial arts techniques, first with a left hook and then with a right hook, which allows him to strike and defeat all of Siakju's men. These people come towards him with swords, threatening to kill him. Yun's body is filled with internal energy that he cultivates, capable of delivering even a standard blow, incredibly destructive. When this internal energy is channeled by a supreme martial artist like Yun, it becomes as powerful as a cannon. With just one blow, Yun sends all of Siakju's men back. Siakju arrives on the scene brandishing his sword. He questions Yun about the chaos he unleashed on his territory and asks whether the First Blood sect instigated Yun's actions. Siakju then attacks Yun with his sword. Yun defends himself from the attack using his glove. Siakju notices Yun's unique glove and comments on it. He then launches another attack, inviting Yun to block it. Siakju uses a technique called Blood Demon Crane Kick and stabs Yun. However, Yun skillfully dodges the attack and counters with a powerful roundhouse kick. This causes Siakju to crash into a wall. Siakju realizes that Yun destroyed his energy core with a simple kick. He demands to know who Yun is. Yun doesn't answer Siakju's question and instead looks the other way. Annoyed, Siakju calls out to Yun, asking if he's ignoring him. He orders Yun to stop right there. However, Yun's attention is drawn to a painting in the room. He notes that he can't tell if they're creative or not and questions Siakju about why he hid the money vault behind such an obvious painting in his room. Siakju grinds his teeth in frustration. A series of attacks by an unknown man begin, targeting various sects, starting with the Shintai sect, this unknown guy who single-handedly defeated all the sects and easily took their hidden gold. Among the things he took were secret books containing records of terrible crimes and smuggling. These recordings were reported to the government. All the sects that were attacked, including the Shintai sect, suffered despite things going well before. People began to call this unknown man, the divine thief with a knight's fist, because he was like a good thief who used his fists. It doesn't matter, but it is said that rumors about this divine knight fist were spread by the Hao clan and the beggar sect. Xiaohian thought that this might be enough to pay off her debt to Yun Huite. After the rumors about the Night Fist divine thief died down, something happened. Yun asks Lady Mo why she is following them, and she says that it seems funny. Yun wonders why Mo is acting like a child and tells her that he is going to spar with Ser Dame Hogue soon, so she should leave. Mo then asks, maybe it's not official, but since it's still sparring, isn't it, Yun? Do you need a witness for this? She says that as a direct descendant of the Juba clan, she is more than worthy of being a second. Mo thinks to himself that he can't miss something so interesting. Hogue agrees and mentions that the witness being a direct descendant of the Juba clan would be a good idea. Yun interrupts, asking Hogue to wait a little. He explains that since this is informal sparring, there is no need to show off your martial arts skills to others. Privately, he decides not to let Mo have his way. Hogue agrees that Yun's point also makes sense. Mo mentally calls Yun a stupid man and wonders how he dares to use strategies against the Juba clan. She then asks Hogue if he knows someone named Gujium. Hogue confirms that he knows about him, mentioning that Gujium was the first storyteller to receive an audience with the emperor. Mo tells Hogue that the Juba clan is well acquainted with Gujium. She offers to arrange a meeting between Hogue and Gujium if he is interested. Hogue expresses his interest and appreciates the kindness of the Juba clan. How's his confusion about Mo's behavior? Either way, both Yun and Hogue prepare to spar. Hogue informs Yun that he uses a staff in his martial arts, called the dog beating technique, which can only be learned by a sect leader or successor. Hogue then asks Yun about the martial arts of the famous Dragon Knight. Yun takes time to think about what name he should give to his martial art. He remembers thinking about one thing when he was young and fighting with a beggar. Yun responds to Hogue by saying that the martial arts he uses are called boxing techniques. He explains that as the name suggests, combat primarily uses the fist. It is known to be fast and powerful. He adds that this martial art has been developed for a long time in another country and its effectiveness depends on how a person interprets it. He reveals that the move he uses was actually created by himself. Hogue comments that it is a simple name, but such a martial art may be even scarier than it seems. He confirms that he is ready and asks Yun if he is ready too. Yun assures him that he is ready too. Mo suggests that, as a member of the Juba clan, she will witness their quarrel. She explains that the winner will be determined when one of them gives up or faints. She emphasizes that any actions intended to cause serious harm are not tolerated and attacks that could endanger the life of another person should be avoided. She suggests they start sparring. Hogue takes a certain stance and Yun tries to attack him. Yun thinks to himself that he will finally meet one of the top 100 martial artists in the world, Murim. He hadn't been this excited for a long time. Hogue strikes with his staff and Yun successfully defends against it. Manhwa notes that the sparring is going even better than she expected. Yun launches an attack, Hogue blocks it, and then Hogue responds with an attack of his own, which Yun blocks in return. Hogue jumps down to attack Yun from above, but Yun skillfully dodges the attack. Hogue tries to hit Yun, but he manages to dodge again. Hogue jumps up and tries to strike from above with his staff, but Yun dodges and Hogue's staff sticks into the ground, and Hogue continues his series of strikes. Leaning on the staff, he strikes with his foot. In response, Yun throws a kick towards Hogue, but Hogue quickly does a backflip to protect himself. He praises Yun's defensive skills and challenges him with another move. He aims to hit Yun. Yun quickly moves to get behind Hogue and assures him that he won't be an easy target. Hogue wonders how Yun managed to move so quickly. Yun stabs Hogue. Hogue responds with a technique called Phoenix Flight, and Yun uses his box. Hogue's uppercut technique. Hogue is thrown back, but manages to hold onto his staff to avoid falling. He then uses his staff to kick Yun. The blow sends Yun flying into the air. Hogue uses his Iron Dragon Tail slash technique. This led to a powerful explosion. Hua was left speechless by the intense display of skills. Lying on the ground, Yun realizes that Hogue's staff has a long range, giving him a great advantage. However, if Yun is able to close the distance between them, Hogue may not be able to use his full power. Hogue wonders if Yun's boxing technique is capable of all this. He then asks if Yun wants to continue the fight. Yun answers firmly, saying that he just finished warming up. Manhwa notes that although Yun claims to be stretching, he is clearly tired. Although Yun may have more internal energy than Dame Hogue, the difference in experience makes a big difference, making it seem like Yun is losing the battle. Undeterred, Hogue invites Yun to continue. Yun rushes at Hogue with all his might to close the distance as much as possible. Hogue comments that Yun's movements are quite simple. He attacks Yun with his staff, but Yun senses that this is a trick and Hogue is aiming somewhere. Having guessed it in time, Yun manages to block Hogue's attack. This surprises Hogue, who tries to attack again, this time without fainting. So Yun manages to dodge the attack. In getting closer to Hogue's strikes, Hogue flies away from the kick, but once in the air, Hogue gracefully spins in the air and lands back on the ground. He expresses his surprise, noting that Yun quickly adapted to his feints. Just a minute ago, Yun seemed confused, but he quickly came to his senses and prepared for a new attack. Hogue congratulated Yun for a great fight. He said that his blood was boiling and he would do everything in his power. Yun admits that he has no experience fighting Murim yet. He believes that while winning is important, personal growth is even more important. Yun decides to continue the close combat and wait for the right moment to use his boxing. Hogue launches an attack on Yun using his Heavenly Flower Staff technique and the surrounding storm. Although Yun tries to dodge, he ends up receiving a series of blows to his body and chest. Yun lets out a scream. Mentally, he realizes that this is the fight he was looking for in his previous life. This battle awakens his forgotten warrior instincts. For Yun, this is not just pleasure. He feels a rush of adrenaline. With determination, Yun looks at Hogue and declares that he has caught him. He launches an attack on Hogue. However, Hogue believes that Yun is being reckless. Even though Yun has a lot of internal energy, he is still inexperienced in combat. Yun continues to attack Hogue, but Hogue manages to dodge all of Yun's attacks. Yun then uses his backhand kickboxing technique to try and hit Hogue. Energy exists. Everyone has it, but it's usually very weak, so most people don't even know it exists. However, the stronger a martial artist is, the stronger and more noticeable his own energy becomes. And the more experienced a person is, the better he can sense the energy of others. Yun White ended up unintentionally putting all his energy into a right hook during the fight. This turned an ordinary feint into a perfect one. Because of this, Hogue had to sit on the ground. He asks Yun what trick he used. Hogue admits that he saw Yun's next move, but couldn't react fast enough. Yun wonders if Hogue's delayed reaction was due to Yun focusing his energy on his right hand. Yun tells Hogue that it looks like their battle is over. However, Hogue mocks Yun, saying that Yun must be joking. He calls himself Damn Hogue from the beggar sect, and claims that he will not give up so easily. However, he then falls to the ground. Concerned, Yun quickly approaches Hogue, thinking that he might have been shot, possibly in the jaw. Yun realizes that even if someone has internal energy, their brain can still be shaken when they are hit on the chin. Manhwa intervenes and tells Yun that he has already won and should stop. However, Yun wanted to help Hogue. Hogue manages to get up with Manhwa's help. The idea of using energy to create a convincing feint, a kind of misdirection, is amazing. As Mua helps Hogue leave, he asks Young how he could be so cruel to an old man like him. Hogue notes that young people these days do not respect their elders. Young responds by asking if they sparred to improve themselves, and suggests that Hogue hasn't given his all yet. Hogue questions Young about how he didn't try his best either, right? He mentions that despite his appearance, he is actually an elder of the beggar sect and has access to a lot of information. But none of the information about Yona was accurate. Hogue feels like he needs to talk to the person who collected this information and maybe give him a good scolding. Hogue is puzzled by the incorrect details such as use dance-like movements and martial arts based on kicking. He can't understand how all this information can be so wrong. Young clears his throat and comments that it was a good fight anyway. Hogue reminds Young of the promise they made. Young decides it's time to say goodbye now that the sparring is over and bids farewell to Lady Mua. Mua is upset that Young is ignoring her. She tells Hogue that she is going to contact Sir Gujiam and asks Hogue if there are any stories he would like to hear. Hogue replies in the affirmative, saying that he would like to hear quite a few stories. Mua asks if everything is okay. Young notices that Mua is very persistent. In anger, he yells at her, asking why she continues to behave this way. Mua asks him what he means. Hogue intervenes, asking about their destination. Young replies that he is heading to Anhui province. Mua mentions that she has business in Hefei, which is part of Anhui province. Hogue realizes that they are both heading in the same direction. Mua invites Hogue to join them if he has no other plans. Hogue asks if the elderly man can travel with them. Mua responds positively, saying that they will welcome him. She then turns to Young for confirmation, who gets extremely annoyed, wondering how someone could be so shameless. So they travel to Anhui province together. Since there are more people in the group, Young worries that he might have to slow down to fit in with everyone. Since they were all martial artists, they used Qinggong. This skill allowed them to travel quickly and comfortably, so they did not have to sleep in the open. Finally, they arrived in Hefei, in Anhui province. Young notices that Hefei is bustling with people. Mua explains that this is most likely because the Nangong clan and the Sword Emperor are located here. This place has a well-developed information network and a strong economy. The Nangong clan in Hefei occupies a prominent position among the 5 great clans of the Central Plains and is considered the core of the Orthodox faction. They have given birth to many talented people and have maintained their prosperity for many years due to their history and traditions. In addition, one of the top 10 martial artists in the Central Plains, known as one of the 10 Supreme, comes from the Nangong clan. Nangong Jushin, also known as the Sword Emperor, was the former head of the clan, and his reputation alone speaks volumes about the clan's capabilities. Mua mentions that many martial artists in the area came here to apply for the role of warrior guard. Young asks about the guard warriors. Mua is surprised and asks what he means. She wonders if Young knows about this. Hogue intervenes, teasing Young that he is completely out of touch with the world. He explains that the Nangong clan has been recruiting guard warriors for the past few years. Hogue thought that was why Young came here. Young explains that he was just visiting. Hogue mentions that he needs to leave and visit the local branch of the beggar sect. Miguel suggests we leave it at that. Hogue agrees and expresses some sadness over the breakup. He remembers the story Young told them during their trip to Hefei and asks Young about it. Young reveals that it was Hong Gildong's biography. Hogue finds this story about the nightly thief quite interesting and asks Young to share more when they meet next time. As they say goodbye to Hogue, Mua also prepares to leave. Young says goodbye to her. As Mua leaves, she thinks about how Hogue only asked for a story in exchange for a fight. She hoped that Young would share the secrets of his unique techniques, but she's not too disappointed because she found him interesting. She hopes to meet Young again. Young is in the courtyard of the Nangong clan's house. Young looks around at everyone present and thinks, wow, there are so many people here. It looks like a huge crowd of people. Young can't believe they're all standing there in line. Young decides to join the line too. After waiting for 4 long hours, Young finally reached the table. The person at the table asks the next person to come forward quickly. He tells Young to hurry up because there are a lot of people waiting behind him. The man at the table starts asking Young questions. He wants to know his name, where he is from, what level of martial arts he practices, and what his main weapon is. Young answers by giving his name Young White and adds that he is from Golden Shanxi Tiger Wall. As for his martial arts level, before Young can finish, the man interrupts him and says, Golden Tiger Wall? Young confirms and explains that his father is the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall. He also mentions that his first sister married into the Nangong clan, so he has some connections here. The man says to Young, if he is definitely the youngest son of the Golden Tiger Wall, then why was he standing in that line? Yang is confused and doesn't understand. The man explains that if Yang has connections with the Nangong clan or has an invitation, he could simply check himself at the side gate and go inside. The man asks Yang, didn't he know that? The man tells Yang that this line is actually for people who want to become guard warriors. Yang is disappointed in himself for waiting so long. The men standing behind Yang in line get angry and ask him what he is doing. They tell him to leave if he is done. They also ask if he sees people waiting behind him. Inside the Nangong clan residence, Nangong clan elder Nangong Huo and Sword Emperor Nangong Jushin are having a conversation. Jushin tells Ho that he called him here because he is thinking of making Myung the young heir in a few years. Ho tells Jushin that he had the same thought. Jushin says that it looks like Huan noticed what they were thinking and asks if he is upset about it. Ho says he hasn't seen any unhappiness from Huan yet. Huan always wanted to live happily with his family. Jushin comments that it is not surprising and notes that it has been a long time since they got married, but he has heard that they are still very happy together. Ho is glad that his daughter-in-law is a nice person who doesn't cause any trouble. Their happy marriage even causes envy among others. Jushin praises Myung for marrying such a wonderful wife. He then remembers hearing that someone from her family was coming to see him. Ho confirms this and says that the younger brother from her family just arrived. Ho explains that he is not yet very familiar with how the world works. That's why he queued up to become a guard warrior. Jushin offers to teach him a little personally since he had a hard day. Ho is surprised and asks Jushin if he is serious. Jushin explains that he heard that the young man is a talented martial artist. All the rumors surrounding him suggest that he must be hiding a lot of skills. Ho thinks to himself that Jushin's interest in martial arts is always strong. Jushin adds that it looks like he will have the opportunity to stretch his muscles for the first time in a long time. Ho agrees to arrange a meeting between Jushin and the young man. Jushin thanks Ho and praises him for being a good son who knows what to do. Later, Jan is in the courtyard when his sister Jan Yuhua approaches him. She greets him, saying it's been a while since they've seen each other, and asks how he's doing. Young replies that he is fine. Yuhua asks Young if the journey here was difficult, and wonders if he got into any trouble. Young responds playfully, asking her to relax, and saying that she talks like he's always causing trouble. Yuhua demands that he be honest, and asks how much trouble he actually got into on his journey. Young thinks to himself that his sister is nagging like the eldest child in the family. Nangong Huan, Young's brother-in-law, arrives and asks if everything is okay. He mentions that it has been a long time since they last saw each other. Young agrees and asks about Huan's well-being. Huan replies that he is great, and says that all his illnesses have disappeared, because he is with his wife. Young laughs and says he's glad to hear that. Huan then asks if Jan has any plans. Young replies that he doesn't really have any plans, and was just about to take a break, so he's open to anything. Huan asks if that's true. Young wonders what's going on. Huan says he hopes Young won't be too surprised by what he's about to say. He reveals that Huan's grandfather wants to meet him. Young is surprised and asks Grandpa Huan if this means /U 2026. Huan confirms this and tells Jan that yes, this means the Sword Emperor is considering giving him some personal lessons. Young imagines the Sword Emperor teaching him and is delighted. Yuhua asks Huan if he's serious, and Huan says yes. He adds that the Sword Emperor has not yet made a final decision. He will make a decision after a personal meeting with January. Jan happily agrees to meet the Sword Emperor. It's not every day that you get a chance like this. Huan advises Jan to rest today, and once he recovers from the journey, to inform Huan when the right time is to meet the Sword Emperor. Young asks to make an appointment for tomorrow. Huan asks if a day of rest is enough since Jan must be tired from the long trip. Jan says that's not true, but he can't keep the Sword Emperor waiting too long because the Sword Emperor is interested in training him. Jan finds himself deep in the forest and vigorously training. With a powerful blow he breaks the tree. Looking up, he notices that the sun has already risen. The reason he came here so early is because he couldn't sleep last night. The news that the Sword Emperor personally trained him filled him with excitement. Throughout his entire journey in martial arts, Yang understands that he has not encountered many opponents who are incredibly strong. The exception is Elder Qi of the Mount Hua sect. His thoughts turn to Kong Yunhua. He remembers hearing about Yunhua, who was nicknamed Mount Hua's first bloom, and became one of the 5 dragons and 3 phoenixes at a surprisingly young age. Yang wonders if he is on the right path. Despite his progress, Yang knows that he is still far from the best. This is why the opportunity to meet the Sword Emperor is so important to him. He doesn't want this chance to be just about receiving instructions. He hopes to make the most of it. Yang needs to think through some plans. In the morning, Jan's younger sister, Yuhua, is worried because she can't find Yen. Huang tries to comfort her, telling her not to worry too much. The people around them are talking about Yen. They mention that Yen is the son of Golden Tiger Wall, so how could he make the Sword Emperor wait like that? Yang finally arrives and apologizes for being late. Yuhua asks him why he is so late, and notes that everyone was waiting for him. Yang explains that he was caught up in his thoughts. Yuhua is upset and asks him not to waste time thinking. She urges him to apologize quickly and not create any problems. Yan agrees and asks her to stop nagging. Feeling the pressure around him, he wonders why it is so strong. He looks at the Sword Emperor and realizes that the Emperor didn't even use his power. Yang feels like he could lose consciousness at any moment. The people around scold Yen, asking how he could keep the Sword Emperor waiting. They urge him to go and show their respects immediately. Yang wonders if these people sense a powerful energy around them. He then realizes that the Sword Emperor is testing him. In this case, Yang should react accordingly. With great respect, Yang greets the Sword Emperor. He mentions that he has just started his journey in the martial arts world, and has heard about the great reputation of the Sword Emperor. Yen pays tribute to the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor nods and says that is not a bad answer. Yang notices that the intense pressure has disappeared. The Sword Emperor explains that meeting someone for the first time is the best opportunity to gauge their character. He reassures Yang not to get upset, as this is standard procedure for any student. The Emperor wants to teach. Yen tells the Sword Emperor that he wants to make a strong impression. He also apologizes for showing an immature side to the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor finds Yang interesting. Nangonghua thinks that the Sword Emperor likes Yang, and what the Sword Emperor says seems sincere. Yang expresses his gratitude. Nangonghua thinks about how Yen was able to resist the Sword Emperor's energy without using any of his profound strength. He believes that Yen may have already earned the opportunity to train under the sword of the Emperor. The Sword Emperor then informs Yang that he has conducted a thorough investigation into Yang. However, he found it difficult to believe the information he discovered. The report mentioned martial arts resembling dance and indicated that Yen used both. Yang replies that he hears that a lot. The Sword Emperor explains that due to the inconsistency of information, it will be difficult to train Yen. So, after some thought, the Sword Emperor decided that a real fight would be better than just talking. He asks Yen to start sparring immediately. The Sword Emperor adds that after sparring, he will give Yen advice. Yan agrees and thinks that so far everything is going according to plan. Yen turns to the Sword Emperor and asks if he has anything to say. The Sword Emperor asks what is on his mind. Yen expresses his heartfelt gratitude for the Sword Emperor's teachings and mentions that to show his gratitude, he wants to leave a lasting impression on him during their fight. The Sword Emperor asks Yang what he is trying to suggest. Yen explains that he would like to ask the Sword Emperor to give him a head start and allow him 3 strikes first. He speculates that if any of his attacks can affect the Sword Emperor, will the Sword Emperor be able to offer him a reward? The Sword Emperor is taken aback and asks Yang if he is serious. Yen explains that he is here to learn, but he believes that a successful attack on the Sword Emperor will leave the most lasting impression. As a result, people around him begin to call Yang an impudent brat. They are shocked that Yen would show such disrespect for the Sword Emperor and think he has no manners at all. Yen reflects on his words and realizes that they may have been disrespectful. However, he has heard that the Sword Emperor is a martial artist who is simply seeking to expand his knowledge of martial arts. Yang's sincere words could move the Sword Emperor. After some careful consideration, the Sword Emperor responds to Yang's request, asking him to give his best. The Sword Emperor reveals that as he grew older, he believed that there would be no one who could truly challenge him. Yen expresses his gratitude for this opportunity, and the Sword Emperor decides to give Yen an even bigger head start because he admires Yan's energetic attitude. He mentions that he won't use his right leg or left arm, essentially inviting Yen to attack freely. Yang strongly agrees and replies, "Yes, sir." The Sword Emperor, expressing his gratitude to Yang's spirit, asks what the reward is. Yang would like to see one of his attacks succeed. Yang decides to keep his request a secret for now. No matter how skilled the Sword Emperor is, Yang White is proud to be a champion. Because of this, he doesn't want it to end with just learning lessons. He has one big goal, to make a strong impression on the Sword Emperor. However, Yen feels helpless because the Sword Emperor is incredibly powerful. Using pure force won't work against him. Yang believes his only advantage is knowledge. People in the Central Plains are not familiar with his martial arts style. Yang thinks he can make progress using this advantage, but it seems impossible. The Sword Emperor is like an insurmountable mountain. The gap between a person who is at the highest peak level and not fully developed, and a martial artist at the evolutionary level, is as vast as the difference between heaven and earth. Feeling disappointed, Yen considers giving up and just accepting the Sword Emperor's offer. No matter how much Yen thinks, he feels like just a tiny ant in the sword's palm. While Yen is thinking about this, the ant bites Yen and he says, "Ow." Yen asks the ant if he is laughing at him. Yen begins to think that if he is like this ant, and the Sword Emperor is like him, then perhaps he will be able to attack the Sword Emperor, the same way the ant attacked him. But Yen quickly rejects this idea, thinking that the Sword Emperor will not let down his guard. Instead, Yen decides that he needs to find a way to get the Sword Emperor to let his guard down. On the ground, the Sword Emperor asks Yen why he is hesitant to attack, even though he had so many advantages. When Yen encounters the Sword Emperor up close, he realizes that the Sword Emperor is even more powerful than he originally thought. Yen doesn't see any weak points. The Sword Emperor looks like a mountain. Yen muses that if the sparring had started without the Sword Emperor providing him with those first 3 attacks, it would have been terrible. However, the Sword Emperor agreed to let Yen strike first 3 times. This had been the crux of Yen's plan all along, and now he just had to stick to it. The Sword Emperor notices that Yen has lowered the hand protecting his face. Yang slowly approaches the Sword Emperor. Huan is puzzled, realizing that Yang has the option to attack 3 times first, but he thinks it's quite rude of Yang to walk so slowly towards the Sword Emperor, and without any fancy footwork. Yu Hua advises Huan to trust Yen and keep an eye on the situation. She explains that Yen may be mischievous, but he wouldn't do something like that without a reason. The Sword Emperor tells Yen that he allowed him to make these 3 initial attacks because he wants Yen to give his all. The Sword Emperor wonders if Yen is ignoring the kindness he has shown. Yen responds by noting that he hasn't even used his first attack yet. Yen wants to use a kickboxing technique called the low kick. The Sword Emperor realizes that Yen deliberately came so close to him to prevent the Sword Emperor from attacking him. This strategy helps Yen create favorable distance since he is not using any weapons. Yen assures the Sword Emperor that he is far from finished and launches a new attack. Yang then uses Muay Thai and Pham clinch techniques and attacks the Sword Emperor. Yang believes that the Sword Emperor cannot use his right leg and left arm, so he is forced to use his sword to block Yang's low kick from below. Even if he tried to use his sword to block an attack from above, there shouldn't be enough room for the sword to fit in such a close combat situation. Yang thinks he has one. However, the Sword Emperor surprises him by sending him flying with a flick of his hand. Yang crashes into the wall. Yang coughs up blood from his mouth and worries if he has internal injuries. It hurts more than external injuries. He is confused about what just happened. He thought his plans were perfect. Yang thought that his knee strike was about to hit the Sword Emperor. When the Sword Emperor comes closer and asks if he is okay, Yen reassures him that he is fine. He is amazed that he was sent flying with just 1 blow right after a confident speech. Yen apologizes to the Sword Emperor and admits defeat, but to his surprise, the Sword Emperor says that it is not. So, Yang is shocked and wonders how he could not lose. He asks the Sword Emperor what he means. The Sword Emperor explains that he felt threatened and instinctively used his left hand. He admits that in every situation he is the first to break the rules, so it's a win for Yen. Yang becomes happy and asks, "Really?" The Sword Emperor confirms this by saying that being a martial artist is about proving yourself. He adds that regardless of whether Yen used tricks or not, the fact that he could handle them shows that he, the Sword Emperor, needs to be stronger. The Sword Emperor expresses his gratitude to Yen and Yen thanks him in return. Yang then passes out. 2 days later, Yang wakes up in bed, his body numb. He wonders how long he slept. Yua talks to Yang and asks if he's okay. Yang asks if she's worried about him and tells her not to worry because he's doing much better after sleeping for so long. Yua says she feels relieved. However, Yang notices that something is wrong. Yua pats Yang firmly on the back and scolds him, asking how he could do such a thing. She is furious that he even tried to knee the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor arrives and remarks that they are very loving siblings. He asks about your health. Yen intervenes, saying that he is fine and thanks the Sword Emperor for the treatment. But the Sword Emperor clarifies that he was asking about Yang's sister, not about him. The Sword Emperor tells Yen that after he lost consciousness, Yua was very worried and took care of him day and night. Yang asks his sister if she's really that worried, expressing that he's touched. Yua reminds Yen that he should be grateful to her. The Sword Emperor tells Yen that he has now rested enough to begin sparring again. Yang is surprised and asks, "What?" The Sword Emperor asks if Yen is injured somewhere else. Yang assures him that this is not the case. Yua apologizes and mentions that Yang just woke up. Yoon tells the Sword Emperor that he is ready to spar. He reassures his sister not to worry and promises not to get hurt again. The Sword Emperor asks Yoon to come out quickly. Yang agrees and thinks he doesn't know why, but the Sword Emperor seems happy. They look at each other to start sparring. Yang thanks the Sword Emperor and asks how they should proceed this time. The Sword Emperor says that Yen can attack him as much as he wants. He clarifies that he will not use an energy blast like last time. Yang believes that since the last sparring was more of a bet than a lesson, this time the Sword Emperor will teach him properly. In this case, Yang is ready to show the Sword Emperor what he is capable of. He launches an attack on the Sword Emperor, but the Sword Emperor blocks it with his sword. Yan tries to slash with his sword and then tries to kick, but the Sword Emperor blocks both moves. The Sword Emperor notes that Yan's movements are agile and fast. Yang realizes that his strikes are ineffective, so he decides to use a wrestling technique called a tackle and tries to grab the Emperor with all his strength. However, the Sword Emperor does not budge even though Yan uses all his strength. Yan realizes that the Sword Emperor is not just heavy or strong. It feels like he's trying to bump into a huge mountain. Eventually, Yang leans to the ground. The Sword Emperor notes that this is something new. The Sword Emperor says that he now understands why many people find Yang's martial arts strange. He may seem simple at first glance, but he is very practical in battles and has a systematic way of moving. Yan thanks the Sword Emperor. However, the Sword Emperor notes that Yan seems to be too focused on his unconventional fighting. He felt that during their recent sparring session, Yan had clearly put a lot of research and training into these moves to effectively destroy his opponents. Most martial artists will not be able to handle this, but with martial artists who are at the highest peak level or above, it will not work. The Sword Emperor then asks Yang if he is willing to give up these techniques in order to surpass such formidable opponents. Yang wonders if he needs to give up these techniques to become a better person. Yan tells the Sword Emperor that he is not quite sure yet. The Sword Emperor admits that what he said might surprise some, but he advises Yan to remember this. The moment Yan gives up his strong attachment to martial arts, he will be able to overcome the highest level he is currently at. Yan asks the Sword Emperor if he knew this already. The Sword Emperor confidently replies that at his level, one can simply know. Yua then asks what he means by highest level. The Sword Emperor explains that this means that Yua's younger brother, Yan, has reached a level he should not have been able to achieve at his age. With these words, the Sword Emperor leaves, calling Yang a Rael Pearl. Yua asks Yan why he hid something so important from her. Yang begins to explain what he wanted to tell her, but hesitates. Yang sincerely apologizes. As night falls, Yang lies down, feeling incredibly tired. His sister had been nagging him all day, and he didn't expect her disappointment. He reflects on the Sword Emperor's previous question about whether he is willing to give up his current techniques in order to surpass certain opponents. He realizes that at some point in his martial arts journey, he may have to give up his usual forms in order to move to a level where there is no movement. If Yan were to give up his current techniques, he wonders if he could reach higher levels. With a sigh, Yang admits that he doesn't know for sure. However, he understands the general direction he needs to go in. In the meantime, he decides to spend some time thinking about how he can get there. A few days ago, a significant incident occurred within the Nangang clan. Despite numerous obstacles, the Sword Emperor lost in a sparring match against another person. This person was the elder's daughter-in-law's younger brother, recognized as a promising martial artist. However, within the Nangang clan, Heavenly Squad Captain Nangang Kwa refuses to recognize Yang's martial arts. He believes that Yang's fighting style is nothing more than street fighting and wonders if it can be considered a real martial art. That's why Kwa wanted to show Yan what real martial art looks like. But surprisingly, Yang came to find him on his own. Nangang Ki tells Yang that he enjoyed watching Yang spar with the Sword Emperor last time. Yang thanks him for the pleasure. Ki mentions that Yang's martial arts are quite unique and asks where he learned them. Yang explains that he learned it from a master he met by chance when he was young. Ki expresses his curiosity about this mysterious master. Meanwhile, Nangang Kwa angrily slams his cup on the table and wonders how Yang's style can be considered a martial art. Ki tries to calm Kwa down by telling him that he drank too much so he shouldn't talk. However, Kwa insists that Ki must have also seen that the whole sparring process was very difficult. Kwa ponders how such an unusual martial art could even exist in the world. He admits that he should not express this opinion, but believes that the Sword Emperor was too lenient towards Yan during their sparring. Ki, trying to keep the situation calm, suggests that Kwa Lu stopped making such comments. Yan agrees with Kwa's assessment and openly admits that he recognized shortcomings in his martial arts skills. He believes that if he fought without resorting to any devious tactics, he would not have landed a single attack on the Sword Emperor. Yan then sincerely asks for a favor. He's aware of their reputation as exceptional martial artists, both ranking among the top .100 in Murim. Yang politely asks if they can generously help him identify and solve the problem. Kwa asks Yang for clarification, asking if he offers sparring. Kwa, accepting the challenge, admits that he may have been too critical of Yan earlier and agrees to help. Kwa tells Yan that if Yan knows about his weaknesses and wants to get better, then there is no reason why Kwa shouldn't help him. Qi intervenes, expressing his desire to help Yan train and admitting that he was actually curious to see more of Yan's martial arts. However, they both later deeply regret their decision. 2 months later, the Sword Emperor asks Yang if he is leaving now. Yang confirms this and expresses gratitude for all the kindness he received. The Sword Emperor humbly replies that it was Yan who has gone through a lot, and thanks to him, the Sword Emperor's warriors have greatly improved their skills. Yan expresses his joy at gaining such a valuable experience and hopes to meet the Sword Emperor again someday. The Sword Emperor bids farewell to Yan, and Yan turns to his sister and brother-in-law, wishing them good health before leaving. They say goodbye to Yang, and he starts to leave. The Sword Emperor breathes a sigh of relief and looks at his followers celebrating Yan's departure. They feel that their days of humiliation are finally over and happiness is beginning. One person notes that they were beaten every day by a child, but they survived. Another person adds that what is most disturbing is that Yan genuinely wanted to spar with them. Someone else agrees, saying that Yan is just obsessed with fighting. He doesn't care about winning or losing. It seemed wrong to reject Yan as a martial artist, so they accepted his request not to look like they were afraid of him. One person noted that it wasn't just once or twice. Yan continued to look for them whenever he had time. Another man intervenes, saying that a regular fight would be fine, but this was more than that. Like a street fight. The Sword Emperor reflects on how everyone seemed to have a hard time dealing with Yan. Someone looks at the Sword Emperor and thinks that things could have been easier if he had intervened. However, the Sword Emperor replies that he is getting old, and it is not as easy for him as it was before. Huan asks Yu Hua if she's okay. Yu Hua admits that it might be difficult for her to communicate with everyone at the moment. However, she adds that seeing Yan's dedication and passion for martial arts still makes her proud to be his sister. The fire is raging all around. The man is on his knees and desperately asks for his life. But the heartless man, armed with a weapon, ignores his pleas and takes his own life. This cruel man finds satisfaction in watching people beg for mercy. After the cruel act, he goes to his leader Hua Jusu and informs him that their mission on this side is complete. Jusu calmly notes that the only person left in the village is a scared child. With decisive steps, Jusu approaches the trembling child. Jusu tells the child that he will reunite him with his family in the afterlife, since he will be all alone. But suddenly a monk appears. He bravely intervenes, blocking Jusu's deadly blade. The monk checks on the frightened child, assuring him that he is now safe. Jusu can't help but wonder how the monk managed to get so close without noticing him. Jusu sees that the monk is so relaxed, but he can stop Jusu's sword without even looking. Jusu realizes that the monk is much stronger than him. Jusu's men scold the monk, asking if he is crazy for daring to stop their leader. They want Jusu to teach the monk a lesson. Jusu tells his people to shut up. The monk asks the child if there is anyone alive, and the child becomes very sad. The monk understands. The monk then asks the child if he has anywhere else to go, and if he would like to go with the monk. The child says yes. The monk says, okay, then let's go together. The monk throws away his hat and tells the child that they will discuss the details after he defeats them all. The 4 seasons are divided into spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Yonghui left the Nangong clan 3 seasons ago. Now it is located on Songshan Mountain in Hunan Province, where the famous Shaolin Temple is located. Inside the temple, the monks practice their skills. Wan Ho arrives and asks the abbot if he called him. The abbot invites him in and asks how Ho is doing. Ho thanks the abbot and says that thanks to him everything was fine. The abbot then says that he called Ho here because he wants to tell him something important. Ho asks what it is. The abbot mentions a pugnacious wanderer and asks if Ho knows about this man. Ho clarifies if he means an eccentric man who wanders around trying to defeat the top 100 martial artists in the martial arts world and is looking for his next opponent. Ho adds that these rumors turned out to be false. Moreover, there are rumors that this person defeated someone ranked 53rd known as the floating lightsaber named Hyukliung. Ho thinks that such an experienced person can't suddenly appear out of nowhere, right? The abbot says that everyone believes this since there are no official records or testimonies of those who fought him. Ho asks if the abbot suggests that the rumors about a wandering sparring fanatic might be true. The abbot shows Ho the letter and asks him to take a look. Ho looks at the letter and asks if it is real. The abbot points to the seal on the letter, which clearly belongs to the imperial family. The abbot explains that the existence of a pugnacious wanderer is not the main thing. What is surprising is that this person is the same age as Ho. Ho says it doesn't make sense if it's true. Wouldn't this person be the strongest among the aspiring martial artists in the Orthodox faction? The abbot asks Ho why he thinks this is pointless. He explains that the world is a huge place with many talented people. This person will visit the Shaolin Temple tomorrow. As stated in the letter, the person probably just wants to know some tips. He mentioned his desire to stay in the Shaolin Temple and spar with various martial artists. The abbot asks Ho to look after him. Ho agrees and says he understands. The guard yawns at the Shaolin Temple. The senior guard asks why he yawns so widely. The junior guard explains that the warm sunlight made him yawn without even realizing it. The senior guard tells him to stay focused and alert while on duty. The junior guard tells the senior not to worry too much, because not many martial artists have visited them recently. He wonders what could go wrong. The older guard scolds the younger one, warning him that such an attitude could lead to trouble. He asks the junior guard if he would like to undergo special training from the master. Like before, the junior guard complains that the senior guard is too harsh. But then the junior guard notices someone approaching, and it turns out to be Yong. The senior guard notes that Yong has incredible inner strength. He orders Yong to stop and asks why he came to the Shaolin Temple. Yong, noticing the distinctive clothing and shaved heads of the guards, realizes that he is in Shaolin. He tells them that he is here to meet with the abbot. The guard asks where Yong is from. Yong shows them a plaque that says Golden Tiger Wall, and says that he is Yong White from the Golden Tiger Wall in Shanxi. The guard becomes suspicious and thinks they can't just let Yong in without further investigation. The guard tells Yong that they are not expecting anyone from the Golden Tiger Wall today, and asks why he is looking for the abbot. He says they can't let Yong in without knowing why. Yong gets upset and asks if the guard doubts him. He is very tired from his long journey through the mountains, and the guards are having a hard time dealing with him. Suddenly, the guard senses the danger coming from Yong and attacks him with a weapon. Yong manages to block the attack and questions the guard's actions. The guard scolds Yong, calling him shameless, and asks how dare he question what the guard is doing when Yong is radiating danger. He warns Yong not to underestimate the Shaolin Temple. Ignoring Yong's words, the guard attacks him using the 18 Guanyin technique. However, Yong defeats the guard with just one blow. Yong sighs and wonders why all the Shaolin monks are so stubborn and never listen to reason. Other monks come and want to know what is happening. The junior guard informs them that the attacker Yong has defeated the senior guard, Muo. The monk blows a whistle to warn everyone that an intruder has harmed one of them. He tells them not to let their guard down, because Yong is skilled enough to defeat Muo, who is at the peak of his level. Yong gets upset and yells at them to stop it. He decides he'll just fight them all. But then Wanho comes and yells at everyone to stop fighting. He wants to know what's going on. The junior guard tells Wanho that the man Yong tried to deceive them by claiming that he was the abbot's guest and entered the Shaolin Temple without permission. Yong protests and asks what they mean by villain. The junior guard explains that senior guard Muo is dead because of Yong. However, Muo clarifies that he is not actually dead. Wanho tells Muo to shut up. He tells them that Yong is indeed the abbot's guest. This news surprises the guard. Wanho shows them the letter and says that he is here to deliver a message. So what is all this confusion? Wanho questions them, asking even if they didn't get the message. What do they think is the right thing to do to attack someone without understanding the situation? He also notes that it is even worse if a group of them gangs up on one person. He wonders if they can really call themselves monks of the Shaolin Temple. Yong agrees with Wanho, saying that these are very reasonable words. Meanwhile, the junior guard realizes that he is in trouble. The guards are later severely punished. The one who is punishing them notices that their bodies are shaking from the punishment and decides to add another 15 minutes to the punishment. The guards thank him. The man then approaches Muo and mentions that he heard that Muo is the cause of the problem this time. He asks how Muo can achieve enlightenment if he judges people with prejudice. Yong overhears this and thinks to himself that he really likes the situation. Seonghak arrives and asks Yong if he got enough rest. Yong replies that yes, he had a good rest thanks to Seonghak. Seonghak introduces himself as Mu Seonghak, the head of the Shaolin Temple's guest hall. He admits that he made a big mistake with Yong and apologizes again. Yuan reassures Seonghak, saying that everything is fine and that he understands Seonghak's situation. He knows that the monks of the Shaolin Temple are full of energy. Seonghak expresses his gratitude to Yong for her understanding. He thinks to himself how amazing it is that Yong is only 20 years old. Yong is the famous pugnacious wanderer. The leader was right. Seonghak asks if he heard correctly that Yuan wants to meet their abbot. Yuan confirms this and praises the Shaolin Temple for its reputation as a martial arts center. He explains that he just wants to spar and learn from these masters. Seonghak understands and admits that Yuan is definitely suitable for sparring. However, he is concerned that the idea may not go down well with the temple's senior members. Yong realizes that Seonghak is right. Compared to someone who has nothing to lose, the temple has something to lose. That's why Yuan always suggested that sparring should be informal. Seonghak asks Yuan what he plans to do. Yuan wonders if there is any way around this. Seonhak suggests that it is not necessary to involve senior members. He suggests that Yuan could teach 3rd or 4th grade students and have leadership spar with them. Seonhak says that sometimes you can learn a lot by teaching others. Yuan asks if they're okay with him teaching considering the trouble he's caused. He thinks they are suffering because of him. Seonhak asks Yuan not to say this. He explains that this is a misunderstanding due to their lack of experience. Yuan agrees and suggests following this plan. Yuan then asks who in the Shaolin Temple does the most training. Later they go outside and Young catches a falling autumn leaf. Seonhak notices Young's interest in autumn leaves. Yuan agrees, saying that the autumn leaves at the Shaolin Temple are beautiful. Seonhak admits that it might be a little offensive, but at first he thought that Young, with his nickname Pugnacious Wanderer, was only interested in fighting. However, after meeting Yuan, Seonhak came to the conclusion that the nickname did not accurately describe Yuan. Instead, he believes that a term like autumn leaves would be more appropriate for Yuan's character. Young finds it funny. As they watch, they notice that Wanho is engrossed in his training. Young remembers Wanho as the person who helped him with the other monks earlier. Seonhak continues to tell Yuan about Wanho's status in Shaolin. Wanho is considered a source of pride for the temple and the most likely candidate to become the next abbot. He is popularly known as Little Dragon Wanho. Seonhak clarifies that if Yuan asked anyone in Shaolin about the most dedicated training enthusiasts, they would undoubtedly mention Little Dragon Wanho. Young asks how many times Wanho repeats this particular move. Seonhak explains that Wanho constantly emphasizes the importance of mastering the fundamentals. He uses the analogy that just as a building without a solid foundation will collapse, martial arts without a solid foundation are doomed to fail. Seonhak adds that Wanho practices this movement in an upright position for 6 hours daily. Young expresses his belief that such teaching methods are ineffective. Seonhak asks for clarification and asks Young to clarify his point. Young then goes on to explain that he meant what he said. Such teaching methods are ineffective. Seonhak tries to set the record straight by saying that while it may seem repetitive, a stronger foundation needs to be built. Young admits that he understands what Seonhak is talking about, but insists that he still considers him ineffective. Wanho asks Young if he means that Wanho's efforts are in vain. Young explains that this is not a waste of effort, but rather a misdirection of it. Wanho seems surprised and asks if he's heading in the wrong direction. He presses Young, asking if he's serious. Young explains that he's talking about a real fight. He emphasizes that in real combat, there are many variables to consider, such as weather, location, or number of opponents. From Young's perspective, it appears that Wanho is neglecting these variables. Young says Wanho is stubborn and sticks to the safe path. This angers Wanho, and he challenges Young, asking if he can take responsibility for what he just said. Young responds by saying that actions speak louder than words. He suggests that it would be quicker to demonstrate his point in person by suggesting sparring with Wanho. They meet each other on the battlefield, ready to take on the challenge. Meanwhile, Seonhak regrets introducing Yuan to Wanho. Suddenly, the abbot appears and asks if this is a pugnacious wanderer. He asks if Wanho represents the Shaolin Temple in sparring. Seonhak confirms this and explains that Young was looking for the best student at the temple, so he recommended Wanho to the little dragon. However, Seonhak admits he is a little concerned that he may have made poor judgment. Seonhak informs the abbot that Young provoked Wanho by questioning the practicality of Wanho's training methods in actual combat. He expresses concern that this might make Wanho too emotional during sparring. Young, on the other hand, is reflecting on the situation. He's excited to fight a Shaolin monk, something straight out of a movie. However, he senses that something is wrong with little dragon Wanho. Young notices that Wanho seems distracted at the moment and wonders if he's very nervous. Regardless of the reason, Young considers it impolite to be inattentive to an opponent. Young thinks he needs to show Wanho something interesting. Wanho tells Young that he will demonstrate the essence of all his training. Young suddenly lies down on the ground, ready to begin. Wanho asks what he is doing. Young explains that he is taking his stand. Wanho asks if Young plans to fight on the ground. Young reminds him that there are many variables in real fighting, and he intends to show Wanho the extreme limits of those variables. The Inoki vs. Ali stand is a term that originated from a fight that took place in June 1976 between boxing's greatest, Muhammad Ali, and Asia's greatest fighter, Antonio Inoki. Martial arts fans were crazy about the match between the two legends, but both fighters were hampered by rules restrictions like no strikes, low blows, and all that. In the end, the match between the two was boring as hell. And Young White is now reenacting the scene in Murim. Wanho tells Young Woo to stop acting like a fool and fight hard. Young insists that he can fight in his current position and encourages Wonho to launch an attack. Songhak asks the abbot if Yen is going too far with his jokes, noting that the lazy donkey pose is a great humiliation for a martial artist. The abbot finds Yan's behavior interesting and asks Songhak to leave it alone. Wonho agrees to continue in Yan's preferred position and extends his leg to hit Yen, warning him not to regret it. Young admits that he was scared and thought he was going to die. Young notices that the blow seemed very strong and may have been intended to cause him serious harm. He wonders whether the use of Inoki Ali's position is an unusual occurrence in Murim. Young manages to dodge the blow. However, Wonho asks Young not to treat him like a fool. He realizes that Young is using this strange position to counter his striking style. But Wonho wants Young to know that he can use his feet too. Young is surprised that Wonho seems to act based on his emotions. He thinks that Little Dragon is still young and impulsive. Young notes that he was never hit and suggests that Wonho calm down. He notes that Wonho looks quite emotional. In response, Wonho jumps into the air, ready to attack Yen with his 18 Guanyin kicks. Wonho warns Young that he cannot escape this attack. Young, with a sly smile, believes he has a plan to deal with this problem. Young uses the rising punch to hit Wonho. However, Wonho's kick hits Young's legs, causing them both to scream in pain. Unfortunately, Wonho's bone is broken and he can't feel anything. He realizes that Young used the ground to absorb the blow, so only he while in the air took the blow. It becomes clear to Wonho why Young provoked him. Wonho wonders if this will be his defeat. He looks at the abbot and decides that he cannot afford to lose here. There was no point in him falling now, so he goes on the offensive again. But Young parries the blow, causing Wonho to fall to the ground, upset and say, "Damn it." Wonho doesn't want to let the abbot down, so he is determined to keep moving forward. However, he eventually loses consciousness. When Wonho wakes up, he finds Young nearby. He asks how long he was unconscious, and Young replies that it was less than 15 minutes. Wonho realizes that he most likely lost the match. Young extends his hand to help him up and praises the match, saying it was great. Wonho accepts Young's hand and agrees that it was indeed a great marriage. He tells Young that at first he thought Young was just provoking him by talking about his training. Wonho, on the other hand, admits that he now understands what Young meant. He admits he was too narrow-minded. As they walk, Young stops and tells Wonho that there is a bigger problem with him. Wonho asks what the problem is. Young wants to know why Wonho trains and what makes him get stronger. Young shares that based on his observations, he believes Wonho doesn't have the answer yet. He tells Wonho that if his only reason for wanting to become stronger is to gain recognition from someone, he won't be able to reach his full potential. The abbot agrees with Young's words. He mentions that he knows Wonho respects him a lot and follows him. It seems that Wonho trains so hard to impress the abbot, perhaps because he wants to make the abbot proud of him. The abbot acknowledges that Wonho has already succeeded him at a young age and expresses pride in him. However, the abbot notes that Wonho may be too focused on the abbot's approval. He explains that this is not the main reason he saved Wonho. Wonho responds by saying that the abbot is like a savior and father to him. His eyes fill with tears as he admits that he doesn't believe a weak person like him deserves the nickname Little Dragon. The abbot places a soothing hand on Wonho's head and acknowledges the emotional suffering he has endured. The abbot realizes that he may have put too much pressure on Wonho. Wonho quickly assures the abbot that it is not his fault. However, the abbot assures Wonho that he need not worry. He tells Wonho that he doesn't need to become stronger for the sake of the abbot. Even if Wonho does not succeed the abbot, he will always be the son that the abbot is proud of. Overcome with emotion, Wonho begins to cry and tells the abbot, "Yes, father." Several days passed. Another monk falls to the ground and Young compliments him, saying that they make a great couple. The monk replies, that was a great match. Young suggests that it's time for the next person to get ready, but when he turns around he realizes he has defeated all his opponents. Wonho asks Young if he is done sparring. Young, looking back at his defeated opponents, asks Wonho if he wants to fight him. While walking with the help of a stick, Wonho explains that he is still not ready to spar and reminds Young of the time Young broke his leg. Young apologizes, admitting that maybe he went too far last time. Wonho reassures Young, saying that everything is fine, and he believes that his injury was his own fault. Wonho then reveals that he has something to share with Young. He continues to tell Young about the upcoming event known as the Battle of the Dragon in Phoenix. This event is organized by the Murim Alliance and will take place soon. Wonho explains that the Murim Alliance is currently in good health and enjoying success. This is due to the fact that the Orthodox faction has been in power for many years, making the alliance a powerful force in the world. However, as the world continues, the young martial artists become discontented. They lack opportunities to demonstrate their skills, gain recognition, and distinguish themselves from others. To solve this problem, the Murim Alliance found a solution. Every 2 years, they organized official sparring matches, which they called the Dragon and Phoenix Battle. Wonho told Young that there were only 2 months left before the Dragon and Phoenix Battle began. To enter, Wonho tells Young that he just needs to go to the Henan branch and take part in the preliminary rounds. Wonho then asks Young a question. Would he consider teaming up with Wonho and joining the Dragon and Phoenix Battle together? Young responds by explaining the structure of Dragon and Phoenix Battle. As far as Young knows, it is divided into 2 generations. The younger generation competes in the first round, and the second round is for participants aged 40 years and older. Young suggests that if they decide to participate, they will end up in the first round, right? Wonho agrees, and admits that he wasn't sure if Young would be interested, because Young is already strong enough to take on higher-ranked martial artists in Murim's top 100. Wonho asks Young if he would like to meet martial artists around Young's age. Young grins and asks if it was that obvious. Wonho suggests they try anyway. He believes that sometimes it is better to reflect on oneself rather than constantly striving forward. Wonho admits he was also focused on the race ahead. He asks Young if Young helped enlighten him on the matter. Most importantly, Wonho expresses his desire to have another fight with Young. Young smiles and agrees, saying, "Okay, let's have one more match in the final." Thus began a friendship between the god of battles, who is considered the strongest fighter in the world, and the main master of the warrior family, the Fire Monk. 2 months later, at the Murim Alliance branch in Hunan, Young fights a warrior. The warrior attacks Young while jumping, trying to kick him, but Young blocks the blow, after which he simply pushes his leg away and hits back. Young's opponent falls. The judges declare Young of the Golden Tiger Wall clan to be victorious. Coming out into the street, Young exhaled with relief. Young thinks that he can't keep up with the little dragon Buddha, who will pass the selection before him. Young realized that he would not get along with the little dragon in the final selection. The little dragon Buddha said goodbye to Young and wished him an easy passage through the qualifying round. Large well-known schools do not participate in the selection process but immediately get to the main competitions. Young thought that the world is not fair. A boy approached Young and handed him a letter, calling Young an old man, which caused him great surprise. The boy added that the beautiful lady asked to deliver this letter for the old man. Young again wondered why they called him an old man. Young decided that this was an old friend who watched his previous fight and decided to meet him because she liked Young. After reading the letter, Young realized that he was being invited to a meeting at a restaurant, but it was not clear who. Restaurant Lotus. Young has arrived. Young sat down at the table and waited. A girl in a hood approached him. Young did not recognize her and immediately asked her who she was and why he was here. The girl said that she was from the Murim Alliance, leader of the celestial school Somayan. When So took off her hood, everyone around her froze when they saw such beauty. She explained that he was the winner of the last battle between the dragon and the phoenix and is now the head of the Heavenly Ball Fortress. The unique and mysterious Heavenly Sect is also a sect in which the successor is one person. This is a strange sect that wields the bow and only allows women to become leaders. Somayan is not just the leader of the Heavenly Sect. She is a gifted genius who has reached the very heights of martial arts and she is not yet 30 years old. She is also the last winner of the battle between the dragon and the phoenix. Young was shocked and said that he didn't know that they were part of the Murim Alliance. Young thought about what they needed from him. So before speaking further, she activated an energy barrier that enveloped both of them. So explained that they needed his help and what she would tell him now should not go beyond the confines of this room. Young is surprised that he is trusted with such important matters, but So says she studied his reputation and how he behaves. Somayan said that she had recently been to the Shaolin monastery and there they told her that Young could be trusted. So continued the conversation, she said. Every time during the competition different incidents happen and this time it happened too. Seo Mayan believes that there was an unfair selection here and Seo Wuchang, the current head of the Murima Alliance division in Hanam, is in cahoots with several families. He falsified the results of the qualifying competitions. Seo Mayan wants Young to steal these results but Young says that he is not on such matters. But Seo Mayan says that he knows that Young has already done this before and it won't be too difficult for him. Young is shocked by the awareness in the Murima Alliance. Young says that this is a big risk for him. Seo hands Young a special ID plaque. Now Young is the official inspector of the alliance. Young says that if you give something, you get something in return. Seo Mayan says that's great and asks Young what he would like in return. Hunan, Murima Alliance Qualifying Tournament. Seo Wuchang, the head of the Hunan branch of the Murima Alliance, will meet the guest in the schoolyard. He is happy to welcome Seo Mayan and offers her tea and rest in the guest quarters. Seo Mayan refuses and says that she came to watch the qualifying fights and she wants Seo Wuchang to be with her and show her how the selection process goes. Seo Mayan asks if Wuchang is okay. They went into the hall. Wuchang yells at the students to urgently bring the best tea and sweets for the guest. At this time, Young is already upstairs near Wuchang's office. Hour ago, Young asks what their plan is. Seo Mayan says while she distracts the head of the branch, Young will have to sneak into his personal account and pick up the book with fake selection results. Seo Mayan believes that the head will not leave her side because she is the winner of past competitions and for him she has a chance for promotion in the future, so he will try to please her. But Seo Mayan also knows that Wuchang is very careful. That's why she has a ring. Such rings allow you to send a signal even over a long distance. She gave the second ring to Young. These rings are paired and connected to each other. He will also most likely need this bracelet. The bracelet will help identify hidden objects. After all, most likely the magic of protection and secrecy has been cast on the book. Seo Mayan convinces Young that he can handle it completely, so hopes that he has a strong fist and will cope in case of surprise. Young is worried that if he fails, he won't be able to leave safely and he's surprised that he'll have to wear a mask again. Young understands that he was chosen for a reason because if he gets caught, they will say that they don't know him and doesn't believe that the inspector's sign will help him. After all, although there is a sign, he cannot represent Murim but only a trusted representative. Young put on his mask and got to work. He couldn't go through the door because it was supervised and closed. The choice is obvious: window. He easily jumped through the open window and entered the room. Having assessed the situation, he went straight to the office. There was no one around. Everyone went to see Seo Mayan, the best archer in Murim. Opening the office door, Young was shocked by what he saw. The shelves were full of precious vases and jewelry. Not an office but a treasury, thought Young. He of course understood that lending money could bring bribes, but he could not imagine that so much. The bracelet lit up as if making it clear that Young was at the goal and the book was somewhere here. But among so many things, it will not be easy to find it. We have to hurry because there is not much time. At this time, Seo Mayan and Wuchang watched one of the qualifying fights take place. Wuchang asks how Seo rates the members and she says they are beautiful. Seo Mayan says that there are many talents and she likes it. Wuchang tries to flatter her by complimenting Seo. Wuchang invites Seo Mayan into the office for a cup of tea, but she continues to stall for time and says that she wants to watch a little more. Seo Mayan thinks about how long it will take Young to find the book. Young continues his search, looking through everything and not paying attention to anything. Young thinks that this is a failure of the mission. He does not find the book. He has doubts because the bracelet glows but there is no book. Could this be a trap? A thought occurred to him. What if this is only Seo Mayan's initiative and the Alliance doesn't know about it? But then she decides that she would hardly do such a thing. He tries to put himself in Seo Wuchang's place where he would hide it if he were him. Suddenly it dawned on him, he seemed to understand where she could be. Taking an ordinary book from the shelf and checking what was in it, he discovered that he found it. Wuchang simply hid it by wrapping it in an ordinary book. Grabbing the book, he rushed to the window to quickly escape unnoticed. On the way, he remembered that he needed to rub the ring to give a signal to Seo Mayan. Suddenly, running around the corner, he reacted with lightning speed to a sword that almost reached him. But he managed to dodge. In front of him was no ordinary opponent. This was a master of martial arts. How did you end up here? And how were you able to dodge my blow? Who are you? Are you by any chance interested in the accounting book? These were the questions asked by the stranger to Young. Young understood that this was a master in front of him. His sword radiates a lot of energy. But who was in front of him? Wuchang's guard. Why didn't he feel it earlier? Young understood that he wouldn't be able to leave quietly if he had to fight with him. I'm an inspector from the Murim Alliance, and I came for a book that contains illegal records of the results of fights. Young said, if you try to stop me, the Alliance will not stop so easily. Young didn't have time to finish, the sign shattered into pieces. It seems his opponent doesn't care about his words, and he asked what Young will do now. Well, we'll have to fight. A fight broke out. Young attacked and the enemy defended. Young was glad that an opponent equal to him was fighting with him. Young decides that he will try boxing. Young throws an uppercut from below, but the masked man blocks with his sword. A man in a mask does a somersault in the air from the impact, but he calmly lands on his feet. Young does not lose the initiative and continues to strike, but the enemy dodges. The masked man seizes the moment and counterattacks with his sword. Young dodges and slides down, grabbing the enemy's leg. Realizing that he couldn't reach it with his hands, Young switched from boxing to jiu-jitsu wrestling. Grabbing the leg, Young immediately performs a painful heel hook hold, and it's clear that it worked, but not completely because the enemy has a sword. So you have to let go of your leg before it's too late. Young manages to jump out from under the blow of the sword in time. Young understands that this is a real master in front of him, because anyone else would drop his sword from a painful hold and would not be able to carry out a counterattack. The masked man tells Young that he almost broke his leg, a simple but effective move. However, it won't work the second time. Young sees that the internal energy has become more transferred to the lower part of the opponent's torso. Now he should not go into a fight on the ground. Young decided that he needed to change his technique, and he had something to show the enemy. So Mayan cannot understand why there is still no signal. They agreed that he would give a signal even if he did not find the book. Vibrate twice if successful, and 3 times if it does not find it. Co Mayan can't understand what's going on. If Mayan was caught, then who can resist him? Is there really a master here of equal strength? Noticing that So Mayan is thinking about something, Wu Chang decides to ask. But So turns the conversation into a joke. Wu Chang realized that something was wrong with Co Mayan. She refuses to go to the office for tea, and she also doesn't watch the fights, but is all in her thoughts. Then Wu Chang decides that it's time to show his cards, and he simply asks So Mayan what kind of thief broke in with them. Co Mayan realizes that their plan has been discovered, it's just not clear how. She gets up from the table and tries to leave, but immediately becomes surrounded on all sides by people with swords. What do you allow yourself? So Mayan asks the branch manager. He says that he understood everything when she didn't want to go and have tea, because this is a violation of etiquette. He realized that she was using her position to distract him. Co Wu Chang says that even if her accomplice finds the book, his mercenary will not let him leave. A red aura glowed around So Mayan's sky archer, Murim. Have you forgotten who I am? So Mayan asked the branch manager. Do you really think that you can whitewash me with these people? But Wu Chang only said that she was just a bitch and nothing without her bow. At this time there was an explosion, nobody expected this. Everyone turned to the roof of the building. Yong and the mercenary flew out of the house. The mercenary attacked with a sword and Yong put a block with his metal gloves. While So Mayan screamed in horror towards Yong, one of the fighters mainly decided to attack from behind her. But So Mayan noticed in time and responded with a lightning strike. The rest of the fighters also came out of their stupor and decided to attack So together. While fighting off the attacks, So Mayan thought that there were too many of them. She also thought that she urgently needed to help Yong. She also managed to evaluate the masked mercenary and also decided that he was a high-level martial arts master. The mercenary asks Yong that he promised to show him a lot of cool moves and he is upset that this is all Yong can do. Yong understands that he does not have as much internal energy as his opponent. He continues to think about attack options. He cannot use the fight at the bottom and the sword interferes with him at the top. He does not know what to do. Yong's injuries only add to his injuries. On the other hand, he only deflects his attacks. Yong began to laugh at his opponent, which puzzled him a little. Yong still has one more thing up his sleeve and is ready to continue. Have you heard about Kyokushin karate? Yong asked the mercenary. This is a Japanese karate school from the founder Choi Yun, a Japanese in Korea. This school differs from the usual professional mixed martial arts because it emphasizes practicality and fighting. Therefore, Kyokushin is perhaps more suitable for Murim. But Yong White did not like to use Kyokushin karate. Yong tries to hit the mercenary, but the mercenary is fast enough and dodges. Yong is surprised how fast he is. The mercenary counterattacks with his sword and Yong blocks and jumps away. Yong wants to deliver a powerful blow and not constantly block. He understands that Kyokushin does not suit his fighting style. Yong again abruptly takes off and tries to hit the enemy in the head, but again his fist is blocked by the sword. The mercenary understands that this fighting technique is quite simple, but it can cause fatal injuries. The power of such a technique can be compared to the blow of a large bull. Yong continues to attack, but the mercenary dodges. Having dodged the blow, the mercenary jumps away and ends up behind Yong. Now the mercenary feels that with each blow, Yong is hitting harder and harder, but Yong's internal energy has not increased. The mercenary felt Yong's bloodthirstiness increase. The mercenary very quickly jumps up to Yong and jumps and asks that this is all that his fight is capable of. A swing of the sword that could not be blocked in time, too fast, too close. Yong finally pulled out the sword and blood was shed. Damn, his footwork is too good, Yong thought. Kyokushin is unlikely to be able to help here. The mercenary definitely seems too fast now, but at the same time more evil. Probably because the mercenary felt threatened by the karate technique, Yong blocks another blow from the mercenary. Yong realizes that he has even less time left and needs to attack urgently. But how to do that? Think. While his legs allow him to close the distance to his opponent very quickly, He moves in a straight line and it is difficult for him to suddenly change direction. Therefore, in this case, the answer is quite simple, Young thought. Again blocking the blow of the sword with his metal gloves. Having dodged the blow, Young suddenly decides to move, goes around the mercenary and runs. The mercenary is shocked. Has his opponent really decided to run away? Does he really think that he can get rich from him? The mercenary believes that with such wounds, Young will not be able to escape and suddenly jumps after him. Young runs to the edge of the roof while controlling the movement of the mercenary behind him. Now you're hooked, he thought. The bait worked. Young stopped abruptly at the edge and simultaneously turned to face the enemy. Young prepared to attack. While jumping, the mercenary thought that his opponent's behavior was too strange. But now he would definitely get him. The mercenary grabbed the sword in his other hand. A strange technique, the mercenary thought. The distance was closing. The mercenary's sword will now reach Young's head, Young's lightning-fast reaction. He already knew that this would happen and put his metal glove towards the blade of the sword. The glove turned out to be stronger than the sword. The tip of the sword could not stand it and shattered into pieces. By inertia, the mercenary continued his flight to meet Young's fists. In a split second, he realized what Young was up to. But it was too late. Having gained speed, the mercenary could not stop. And having lost his sword, he could no longer block the blow. He was left without protection and got close to Young. Young threw the enemy away with a second blow of his fist. He did it, it was a great shot. But that was not the end. He only broke the sword. The enemy is still without major damage. Young ran towards the enemy as quickly as possible. This is his chance to win while the enemy is without his weapon. And until the mercenary began to use his fast legs again, Young must put him down very quickly. Having closed the distance, he fell for his own trick and was unable to avoid the mercenary's blow. From the blow, Young flew into the wall and crashed into it with such force that stones flew off the wall. The mercenary admitted that he was very surprised that Young used his fast legs to destroy his sword. He also admitted that he had not had such an interesting fight for a long time. Young asked the mercenary how he was able to hit him like that without his weapon. The mercenary explained that he did not want to hide it. His customers simply trust him more when he has a sword. He actually uses a fighting technique called the palm technique. But this knowledge does not change anything, the mercenary answered, turned around and began to leave. Young said that he wasn't finished yet and asked where he was going to go. The mercenary said not to worry about it and they would see each other again soon. And he threw away his mask. I hope you will be stronger next time, the mercenary said and left Young. Having no talent in martial arts and not very smart, the head of the branch did all the dirty work to become successful. This is how he worked his way to the head of the Henan branch of the Murim alliance. He overcame many difficulties to reach this position. So Mayan stood in a circle of fallen guards who could not get up after her attack. Xiao Wuchang cursed his guards for not being able to deal with some girl. Xiao Mayan asked him if he still thinks that he is just a girl. Hearing the shouts of the branch head, she turned to him and walked straight towards him. He shouted at her not to come near him. Xiao Wuchang wanted to take a step back, but suddenly he noticed that someone was behind him. Silently, like a ghost, someone was next to him. It was Young, all dirty after the fight with bruises and a wild look. Wuchang fainted from fear, thinking that Young was a real ghost. Xiao Mayan became worried when she saw Young's condition, but Young coughed up blood and said that he was fine. So Mayan apologized. If she had found out earlier that it was a trap, she would not have allowed this to happen. Young says it's not her fault. He's just too weak, but he will meet with this mercenary again, because the mercenary saved his life. If Young understood correctly, they met at the Dragon Phoenix tournament. The winner of the last tournament assured that if this stranger appears there, they will conduct a thorough investigation, and Young is no longer in danger. He is under the protection of the Murim alliance. Yoan asked Xiao Mayan to close his eyes because the mercenary saved his life, didn't pick up the book with fake entries from the qualifying tournament, and the stranger is obsessed with fighting just like Young. She realized that Young wanted to fight him again. If he leaves this defeat as it is, he will not be able to sleep well and will be very upset. Young confirmed that he is going to the Murim alliance as soon as he is cured. Xiao Mayan says that she will also go there to give away this ledger, and asks Young to accompany her. She hopes that he will not refuse her this, and they will go together. As a result of the investigation, everyone who was involved in the corruption scandal was captured and taken away. The main building of the Murim alliance. Lim Musin is the leader of the Murim alliance, Emperor's heavenly destroying blade. He was tired of all this business. This corruption scandal also did not add interest to him. This position requires him to carefully study all reports. He is the leader of the Murim alliance, but all he wants to do is focus on martial arts. He doesn't like office work. Once upon a time, he was just an ordinary guy. One day trouble happened to him and he fell off a cliff. He was lucky and didn't die. A spirit appeared to him and invited him to discover hidden possibilities within him. Lim Musin awakened his intelligence and natural talent for martial arts. He achieved amazing results and officially began his journey to Murim. He then began his dangerous journey as a knightly warrior, fighting countless duels. While doing all this, one day he suddenly realized that he had earned the nickname Heaven-Slaying Blade Emperor. And he was promoted to the position of leader of the Murim Alliance. He was clearly not happy about this. He didn't want to become one. He knew this even when this guy Jube talked him into it. But then suddenly he noticed among the papers that the girls' school had written them a letter. This is one of the non-standard schools. Are they really going to participate in the Dragon Phoenix tournament this year? It's good that there are no special requirements for participation. But this is the first time that a non-normative sect has joined. It's strange, they were up to something. You need to be prepared just in case, Lim thought. Hebei Province, 1 month later. A crowd of people gathered together for a discussion on the summer area around the restaurant. There is a lively debate going on. One man shouts that the winner will be Jiam Vemweung, the Wudon dragon. Other men say that this is unlikely to be possible, because the Wudon school does not have any of the 10 highest. They believe that most likely the winner will be someone from a traditional school, perhaps a small dragon Buddha. He is the best student of the school. Others believe that the winner will be female fighter from Hua Mountain Iceflower, Kong Yunhua. With an icy but beautiful appearance, she is a tough fighter among all ages. There are rumors that she will become the greatest plum blossom warrior. They heard that she trains very hard like a maniac. At the same time, she is very beautiful, but she trains hard. They are waiting to see her and get to know each other. Yang is surprised that the festival is attended not only by traditional schools and their students, but also by just people who want to see the fights. He is also happy to join them. Yang ate well and was in excellent physical shape. Yang is ready to enter the tournament. Murim Alliance, Arena Dragon Phoenix Tournament. Huang Yu-san. The tournament host welcomes all participants and visitors to the tournament. Before the tournament begins, the host introduces the head of the Murim Alliance, Lim Musin, and invites him to say a few words. The leader's assistant asks him not to do anything stupid and read the speech from the piece of paper. The leader addresses everyone present. He is happy to welcome everyone to the opening of the tournament. The assistant is pleased with the beautiful beginning of the speech. But then Lim tears the piece of paper into pieces, and he continues to speak, but only what he wants to say. He doesn't want to preach or grumble. There is only one thing he wants to ask for this tournament. Enjoy the duels, and the audience joyfully responded with shouts. Yang, listening to the short speech of the leader of the alliance, decided that the leader was not as dangerous as he had previously thought. Competing in this style is a little exciting for Yang. Even in his previous life, he did not have such experience. Exciting, but looks fun. Before the start of the competition, a standings appeared of 64 fighters who qualified for the tournament. She looks in a similar format as in Yang's past life. Yang saw himself on the first line. His opponent is Ji Seo Hyuk. The tournament must be completed in 3 days. In this case, it is important to maintain stamina. Yang wondered if the guy in the mask with whom he had fought not so long ago was among the participants in the tournament. The only thing he remembers about him is his voice and the martial art he uses. Perhaps he should study opponents who use the palm technique first. Then he remembered that perhaps he would be noticed when watching the fights. The host called the participants to the first fight and told them to get ready. One of the members approached Yang and asked him, "Are you Yang White?" It was his opponent Ji Seo Hyuk with whom he was supposed to have his first fight. Yang ignored all the remarks and teasing of his opponent. The opponent was angry that Yang ignored him. Ji is angry that Yang doesn't know him and doesn't care that he's so cool. He decided that Yang would regret that he did not respect him so much. And so the first fight ends, 2 fighters enter the arena. Yang White emerges from the Golden Tiger Wall, Tai Dragon Sword from the Runin School. Viewers are surprised that Yang doesn't have a nickname. Usually for competitions, participants take on some cool nickname. The cheerleaders from Jonan School support their fighter and shout out, "Ji Seo Hyuk will win." Ji, seeing the support from the stands, shouted to them not to worry. He would finish this fight quickly. Yang thought he was a little jealous that his opponent had a nickname. But then I thought that the nickname that suited Yang perfectly was a knight-errant thief or a fighting fanatic. Ji, seeing Yang's smile, began to get furious. He shouted so that Yang should not dare ignore him and laugh at him. Ji said that he is not a joke. The judge told them to get ready for the fight, and if they are ready, then they can start. Both fighters said they were ready. The judge announced the start of the fight. The fight began, and Ji was the first to rush towards Yang. Having sufficiently run up, Ji jumped up and decided to attack from above. Yang was ready for the strike and blocked the blow with his metal gloves. Ji used the sword technique, merciless tie. Spectators said that Ji was a rising star and the best representative of the sect. Yang quickly analyzed and realized that a sword technique like Ji's was soft and flexible and had no power. These are momentum embrace techniques. Such an advanced technique can only be used by gifted fighters of the Jonin sect. Yang understood how he would continue the fight and decided to also be flexible and show his soft technique. Ji was amused by this stance. Ji attacked again with his sword. Yang easily dodged the sword and was able to close the distance and get closer to his opponent. Ji couldn't land the next blow. Yang blocked his hands. Grabbing his kimono, Yang threw himself over his hip, a technique used in judo. The throw ended with a very strong fall to the ground. The school students were shocked. Yang's opponent was struck down and knocked out. The fight is over. The judge announced, Young White, a student from the Golden Tiger Wall School, is declared the winner. Seeing this, the head of the school became furious. He could not understand how a student of an unknown sect could defeat his gifted student, Ji. The head of the union and his assistant decided not to kick him out or interfere. They discussed Yang's wrestling style and came to the conclusion that he used the weight and strength of a wrestler. The head of the Allens decided that this technique differs from the Taiji technique, but goes well with it. The head of the alliance liked Yang. He compared it to the wind. It is not limited to any particular form like the wind. Yang got tired and decided to leave the ring. He felt sleepy. Having received permission to leave, he left. Yang understood that by applying his past life experience in MMA in this tournament, he would receive a negative assessment from other masters. But he did not think that it would be so bad. Therefore, he decided to leave the stands so as not to irritate the spectators and representatives of other martial arts sects sitting nearby. Suddenly, he heard someone address him with a question. "Where are you going to go?" Yang immediately replied that it was none of his business. Turning around, Yang saw his brother-in-law, long time no see White. His brother-in-law praised him for a great fight. Yang said that he was lucky. His opponent was not so strong. The brother-in-law explained that one of the best fighters who had claimed victory in this tournament fought with him. Yang was very surprised by these words. The brother-in-law continued to talk about his opponent with a big smile. He said that this guy has a flawless and exceptional sword technique. Yang laughed, his technique like waves. He would like to see more but did not expect that the enemy would be killed with one blow. Brother-in-law said that Yang had strong skills, and the audience was shocked by the technique they saw. Yang remembered his teacher's instructions. His teacher said that his fist did not make a good impression, and his martial art would not command respect. But during training, he understood how effective Yang's technique was in battle. The teacher also said that Yang reminds him of how desperate he was back in the day. The brother-in-law explained that everyone who practices martial arts, first of all, wants to become stronger than they are now, and are ready to defend themselves and everything that is dear to them. But they all forgot the real reason. Instead of becoming stronger, they began to think about pride and appearance as the most important thing. In the end, the brother-in-law summed up that Yang's martial art was amazing, and even the emperor's sword recognized it. Therefore, do not pay attention to those who judge by appearance. Yang thanked his brother-in-law for his support. Brother-in-law said it was a great conversation. Yang asked if it was true that his brother-in-law would take part in the main competition. Yang said that he would be glad if he wins. The brother-in-law said that he was confident of victory. The brother-in-law left saying goodbye. Yang thought that he shouldn't criticize himself. No matter what others say, he has his own way. Night has come. Yang realized how tired he was. Most of all, I get tired of watching fights. He remembered his desire to find the masked guy and realize one thing. He also thought that the standards at this tournament were lower than he imagined. But still, I didn't see all the fights. Most of them were obsessed with how their martial arts looked, instead of how efficient they were. He felt pain in his eyes while watching all the fights. But if he wants to find that guy in the mask, he must watch to the end. Suddenly, an idea dawned on Yang. If he wins the competition with modern martial arts, perhaps the Murim Alliance will realize what they are missing and stop paying attention to appearances and pride. Yang had an interesting idea. Third day of the Dragon Phoenix tournament. More people have gathered today. This is because today is the largest number of interesting fights. The two guys remembered how the tournament began with the defeat of Tai Sword Drakenji, how Yang defeated his opponent with a throw. Hearing their conversation, the other person became angry. Unable to withstand these ridicule, he turned to them and shouted that they should not compare a hooligan fight with martial arts techniques. This guy just bet on the wrong guy. The angry man exhaled and said that such strange martial arts could not last long, and he would lose. People call it martial eccentric. This nickname sounds like a member of a demonic cult. One of them did not agree that this was a good nickname. At the first match, his fight only attracted the eyes of a few people. His technique caused a lot of controversy. People doubted that such a technique was a real martial art. They didn't know what to call such a technique. The only thing they knew was that he was from the Golden Tiger Wall School. Yona's next fight. Again, he uses the wrestling technique. By applying a painful hold to his opponent, he forces him to surrender. Once again, the match ended in Yon's victory. And so the referee announces the winner. The winner is Golden Tiger Wall's martial eccentric. Spectators in the stands cheer in shock as the new winner is announced. The spectators are unhappy and shout that he is a bastard and a disgrace to Murim. But Yongwoo doesn't seem to care about these screams. He smiles and glows with happiness because he won. He leaves the ring with a smile and an unperturbed expression, whistling a tune, and thinks that he doesn't care if someone is angry. He doesn't care about respect or pride. He is going to prove to everyone that the main thing is practicality and not pathos. Real martial arts are not dancing. Upon reaching the stands, Yang meets Wonho and is glad to see him. Wonho apologizes for abandoning him last time and leaving without him. Wonho compliments Yang and congratulates him on his easy victory. Yang tries to modestly answer that this is just another stage. And he can't believe that Yang smiles even when others criticize him and says that his mental health is very strong. And one would hardly smile if he was also criticized like Yona. Yang says he smiled even wider to annoy them even more. But enough about that. Yang says he saw his fight 2 years ago and was impressed. Wonho says he has a long way to go compared to him. But the only thing he really wanted was to meet Yang in the finals. Yang would also like to fight with him in battle and will also be looking forward to this. But suddenly the referee announces that the next match is starting. A fighter from Manhwa Iceflower, Kang Yunhua, is invited to the stage. Rival from the Guochunhu sect. The audience doesn't like him. Everyone likes the girl. The guys are surprised that the guy is simply insulted like that and don't understand the reason. They decided that the reason was precisely that this guy's opponent was a beautiful girl. And the audience just wanted her to win and she was from a well-known sect. On the contrary, he's from a little-known and small martial arts sect. She has extraordinary abilities and is one of the top rising stars of the top 10 sections. She is also beautiful. Therefore the audience took her side. They see the guy as a villain and it's a little sad because that's not true. And they are not villains just because they are weaker and less famous than their school. Young doesn't recognize her a little. She looks strange. He remembers her differently. He remembers her when she was quite cheerful and bright. Wonho says that he also remembers how she smiled when she was younger. But one day everything changed when she followed her teacher and when she returned. The referee announced the start of the fight and the girl was the first to lunge. The guy is shocked by her speed. He raised his sword and became defensive. Young and Wonho continued their conversation during the fight. Wonho doesn't know the exact details, but he does know that she got into a fight with a boy her age and lost badly. After this, she became disillusioned with martial arts and became quite cold towards others. This affected her greatly personally. Young smiled because he decided that Wonho was talking about her too emotionally. Wonho was surprised by such a smile. Young asked him that he was interested in her. Wonho began to deny that it was not at all and there was no need to joke like that and he didn't fall for her. But Young continues to joke. Young offered to talk to her and when he was young, he actually... Suddenly Young remembered how he fought with a girl as a child. Was it really her? Then he won that battle. She lost badly then. Young realized that it was she and it was he who influenced her. Now she is a ruthless fighter and is no longer the little girl she was when she was a child. The fight continues. The girl knocked the sword out of her opponent's hands. The opponent is defeated and gives up. The referee announces the winner. Winner Iceflower from Hua Mountain, Kang Yunhua. Most of the spectators are delighted and believe that she will most likely win the tournament. And suddenly one of the spectators came up with a nickname for her. Iceflower Phoenix. Other fans picked up this nickname, and all the spectators started chanting. Iceflower Phoenix. She turned around and saw Young and Wonho. The guys were clearly embarrassed, and Young felt ashamed. So again, the fight. New tournament participants entered the ring. Wonho is a representative of the Shaolin Temple, the Little Dragon Buddha. His rival is from the Kunlun Taihu Sek dragon sword named Yang Wonhu. The fighters wished each other a great fight. The guy with the sword was the first to jump at Wonho, shouting and getting ready. Wonho dodged the sword and pointed it to the side while trying to strike with his other fist. Young, looking at the fight, noted that Wonho had become stronger than before, but he still follows standard combat and does not move away from his technique. Young decided that the little Buddha dragon would win, and I decided to go and rest. How suddenly he heard, "Are you avoiding me?" Young turned around and saw a girl approaching him. "Oh, you haven't changed at all," the girl said. "The same stupid face and the same shameful military techniques." Young immediately replied that he doesn't care who thinks his fighting style is a disgrace, it's his style. Kang Yunhua laughed and compared his style to tumbling on sand. Young said yes, but I still won, despite such martial arts, just like I did before when I fought with you as a child. Kang blushed at these words. Young continued, "Why are you looking at me like that? Are you interested in me?" Kang Yunhua was furious. "Who could be interested in someone like you?" Young asked, "Do you have anything to tell me?" "Okay, then I'll be the first to say. Honestly, I have nothing to say if you hold a grudge for what happened when we were young. I just stay true to my martial arts style, and I didn't mean to humiliate you. And while everyone is looking at my martial arts, I am proud of it, and I really believe that my technique is the strongest." Kang Yunhua was shocked by these words, but decided to continue the conversation. "What are you talking about?" "That's what I wanted to say." Young replied, "You lost to me because I was weak. It was only because I was stronger." "Okay, forget about this defeat in the past." Young replied with a smile, but suddenly he realized that he wanted to support her, but it turned out that he said a bunch of crap and he felt disgusted by it. He felt so embarrassed and ashamed. Kang stood silently and did not know what to answer. The conversation clearly didn't work out, but then the girl replied that she had not come to quarrel with him. The girl said that she was not ready to show all her strength in the previous battle, but she will show in the next match how much stronger she has become, and let her watch the next match more carefully. Kang turned around at these words and left. Young exhaled with relief, because she was not angry with him. She just decided to say that she had become stronger than in childhood. Suddenly he saw the battle continuing. The fighter with the sword was lying on the floor, clearly after a good punch to the chest. The enemy surrendered. Wonho was declared the winner. Shaolin Little Buddha Dragon won. The fight ended faster than Young expected. Well, let's see what the next duel will be. He saw his brother-in-law. It looks like the next fight will involve him. He decided to support his relative and shouted to him, "Crush them." The referee announced that this is the last fight today. Both opponents are on the battlefield. On the right is the Nankong clan hidden dragon named Nangong Huang, and on the left is a fighter who came from Fujiang province Flaming Yang sect, nicknamed Inferno and named Zhang Ou. Young was surprised. He had never heard of this fighter. Maybe he missed some kind of duel. He seemed familiar to Young, but where did he see him? Suddenly someone behind shouted to Young to wait for him. It was Wonho. He decided to thank Young for staying to watch his fight, but Young answered honestly that he saw the beginning and the end. Wonho behaved strangely, as if he was looking for someone. "What's happening?" Wonho asked where the ice phoenix flower was. "She seemed to be here." Young said that she went to the waiting room a long time ago. Wonho asked if they were talking about him, but Young said no. Suddenly they noticed her nearby, and she was looking in their direction. Wonho thought that she was showing interest in him, but Young knew that he was mistaken. Young decided to joke and cheerfully replied that he didn't remember talking to her about him. Then Young turned back to the ring and decided to ask if Wonho knew who the guy nicknamed Inferno was. Wonho doesn't know for sure, but he knows that this fighter is taking part in this tournament for the first time. Wonho decided that this fighter looked strong and it was worth watching this fight. You could learn something new. Young also noticed that this fighter has very good footwork. He moves well and quickly. He uses a powerful palm technique. His hands and movements reminded him of a recent stranger. This guy could be the same masked stranger that Jan fought with on the roof of the Murim branch. He completely forgot about him, but it turned out to be true that he would be a participant in the tournament. Wonho noticed Young's tension and decided to ask if he was okay, but Young replied that he was just tired and not to worry. Wonho suggested going first to take a break from watching so many matches, and he offered to retell the results of the battle as soon as it was over. But Young refused and said that everything was fine. He must see this fight with his own eyes. Not long ago, before the match, when Young's brother-in-law was going to the match, his wife came up to him and gave him various food items for his journey. She wished him victory and to return safe and sound. He promised her that it would be so and she can be sure of it. And so both fighters prepared for the fight and are waiting for the referee to give the command to start the fight. Young's brother-in-law took a fighting stance. Both patriarchs discussed the fighters. They noticed that Huan was very nervous. On the other hand, they have no information about the Inferno guy. They believe that Huang is nervous because he doesn't know what fighting strategy to use, but one of them believes that he is not strong enough because he loves his wife and devotes more time to her than to training. But they also don't know how strong Inferno is. There are rumors about him throughout Murim. They cannot appreciate his power as if he wears a mask. He hides his strength. As a result, Huang's father is now shocked that his interlocutor cannot feel the power of Inferno, and he calms him down and tells him not to worry. In any case, if he can hide his inner strength, then he is most likely a powerful martial artist. They are sure that Huang knows about this and is ready, and therefore he is worried more than usual. The gray-haired head of the clan offered to admire the skill of his son. It doesn't matter who is in front of Huang in this battle. They will fight. Both fighters said they were ready for the fight, and the referee gave the start. Huang ran sharply to the side, which discouraged the red-haired fighter. Inferno decided that Huang wanted to test what he was capable of by increasing the distance between them. Perhaps he was as careful as rumors circulated about him. But this is useless, even if he wants to escape from the Inferno. It can't match the speed of his leg movements. Noticing that Inferno reacted to this, Huang also rushed towards him and decided this was his chance. He stopped abruptly, used the heavily flying swallowing sword technique, swinging his sword so hard that it is impossible to get close due to the energy it emits. Yang and Wanho are shocked by what they see. Wanho believes that now the match will end with the level of energy that this sword emits. Yang doubts his brother-in-law will be able to win so easily. Inferno used his technique. He also noted that the sword technique is very strong, but not enough to win. Huang realized that his opponent was much stronger than he thought. He also decided that when Inferno uses his legs and jumps, he cannot quickly change his route, and he can catch him doing it. If this is all that Inferno is capable of, then he can finish it with the help of his secret technique. It seems that these two guess what Huang is up to, but we don't yet. Inferno is in a good mood and feels strong, but doesn't know what's next yet. Huang uses his secret technique from the Imperial style and makes an attack. Spectators in the stands froze in surprise. It became cold around, as if in winter. Yang also felt the cold air. This is the radiation of Huang's internal energy. It is very powerful. Perhaps his brother-in-law will win this duel. Inferno decided to comment on this technique. He told Huang this technique is very powerful and releases internal energy to the outside, but inside it kills. You should be afraid of such a destructive technique. If you have insufficient control, it can harm you. But Huang just shouted back, "Shut your mouth." "Well, if this is not so, then show me," Inferno said. Thousands of icy, knife-sharp fragments rained down on Inferno. Inferno doesn't expect this. Is this ice? He dodged them as best he could, but could not defend himself completely from them. Some fragments wounded him, but he did not wait and immediately attacked in response, jumping towards the enemy. As he jumped, Inferno activated his technique, but she didn't help him and he was thrown away. Again, thousands of ice arrows flew at him. Huang thought that he was winning and needed to finish this fight. Again, a new technique of 10 iron swords. Huang jumped towards Inferno with his sword pointed forward. The spectators froze in anticipation. The heads of the clans were also waiting to see how it would end. The sword almost reached its target, but Inferno's hands grabbed the tip of the sword. "I saw that you were nervous, but you were strong enough. Not enough to defeat me though," Inferno said, moving the tip of his sword to the side. The fight continued. Inferno threw away Huang's sword and jumped at him. With great speed, he touched Huang's head with his hand. Huang couldn't react in time. He was too close. The sword flew to the side from the blow. Huang flew away from such a throw and fell hard, raising dust. He needs to get into a stance as quickly as possible, but Inferno will not give him such a chance. Inferno is already in the air and flies to finish off his opponent. A powerful blow occurred. Huang lay there recovering from the blow. Inferno stood over the victim. Huang's mind was spinning with thoughts. Impossible, he repelled the attack with ice and blocked my blow without any damage. His level of invincible physical strength, he is simply invulnerable. Inferno turned to his opponent. "I see that the spirit of struggle has faded in your eyes. Do you accept your defeat?" Huang replied that normally he would admit defeat, but he doesn't want to do it right now. Yang and Wanho are worried because if Huang uses Ice Punch now, both of them will be hit. Huang remembered and mentally asked his wife for forgiveness for not being able to keep her promise. Huang used his technique and thousands of ice stones fell on them. Inferno activated his magic and a flame lit up in his hands. Streams of fiery tentacles burst out of Inferno's hands and began to burn the ice. Huang looked and couldn't believe his eyes. It's simply not possible. Inferno said he was impressed by such an icy show. but too weak against my skill at frying. Winner flame sect Yan, Inferno Jango winner. The audience is delighted again. They liked the fight. They are also glad that finally a representative of the new school can become the winner in a long time. Huang leaves the ring almost exhausted and the referee helps him. On the way out his father meets him and asks if he's okay, how he's feeling. He asks his father for forgiveness for losing this fight. The father decided to support his son and says that he did everything he could, and Huang replies that he has no regrets. The father tells the referee to leave his son to him. He will help him. His father tells Huang that everything will be fine and he needs to trust him. Huang still feels guilty and apologizes again, but his father says that he did everything he could. The father says that he is proud that he has such a son. He lost, but it was a wonderful ending. Meanwhile, Young left Wanho while he thought about what lessons and experience he learned from watching this fight. He approached Inferno. Probably he wanted to clarify some points for himself. Don't look at me like that. If you have something to say it quickly. Inferno replied when he noticed Yona. Yang asked if he was the one who fought him at the Hunan branch. If yes, then what? Do you think people like me can't take part in the tournament, or do you want to take revenge on your brother-in-law? No, I don't want to do this, Young answered sharply. Suddenly streams of energy burst out from somewhere. The energy flows described a circle and created an energy barrier. Young says that he will learn new techniques from their last meeting. This barrier will not allow other people to hear their conversation. Inferno asked what his interlocutor was up to. Young says that he's not planning anything bad. He's just so happy to meet him that he wanted to hug him, but Inferno thinks that Young is mocking him. Young continues to say that he's not angry and doesn't care that he did a bad job or that he beat his brother-in-law. Well, I'll be more honest, I just want to fight you one more time. Inferno was surprised by this proposal and asked Young if he wanted to fight right here. And Yang replied that it was not a bad idea, and Young suggested doing it on the big stage for convenience. Inferno doubts that Yang will last until the finals with him, but Yang said that he is absolutely sure. Young confidently continued to say that not one of the participants could defeat him. No one except Inferno is possible, so he asked Inferno to stay in good condition and they will soon meet in the ring. 2 days passed, the quarterfinals of the tournament. A fighter with a spear is trying to attack our hero. Yang blocks and deflects these blows with his metal gloves. The audience cheers for the fighter with the spear. Yang blocks again and the fire spear does no damage. Yang moves sideways from the blow of the spear but remains on his feet. The opponent is happy that Yang cannot use his power on him and thinks that Yang is afraid of his spear. The fighter's name is Jisub. He is from the Shandong clan, nicknamed the Azure Dragon. He continues to chat about how Yang is upset because he is fighting such a tough fighter like him and cannot win. Yang seems tired of this fight. He probably needs to change tactics. The Azure Dragon performs tricks with a spear and continues to joke. Jisub decides that it's time for him to end this match with a victory and uses his move, jumping up and trying to attack from above like a snake. Yang thinks that this is not enough to win. Having gotten too close to Yang, he became open to a blow and immediately got hit in the face. The audience is shocked by this turn. They again see something unreal. The Azure Dragon is lying on the floor with a slightly bruised face, seemingly unconscious. The referee assesses the situation and considers that the duel is over. The referee announces the winner. Yang won the fight. Yang leaves the stage. Yang is unhappy that he has such weak opponents. He wants to fight Inferno. The defeat in the last battle with Inferno on the roof haunts him. He wants to fight him again. Seeing how Yang hit the wall and broke off a piece, some person approached him. Coming closer, she turned to Yang and asked why he was so unhappy and for what problem he could not find a solution. She likes such expressions, added the red-haired stranger. Yang stood stunned by this behavior, not understanding what was happening and how to behave. The red-haired beauty continued to compliment Yang, bewitching him. Is this magic? But then Yang woke up, removed her hand from his face and began to speak. What are you doing? Asked Yang. The redhead is surprised that he doesn't know her. She thinks that all the men here know her and says that maybe she is too arrogant. In fact, Yang knows who she is. She is Oenghu, from the Bloody Maiden sect, nicknamed the Asura Blood Whip. She left a deep impression on Yang because she uses a whip technique and a martial art that is not limited to ordinary techniques, an unorthodox school. When she goes out to duel, it looks like she is torturing people and fighting. Yang didn't understand what she wanted from him. She continues to talk to him in phrases that are incomprehensible to him. She is surprised that he reacts to her words. She decided to stop throwing empty phrases and directly said that she wanted to ask him for something. Are you dating an ice flower phoenix? Inghu asked. Yang is shocked by this question. Young shouted, "What the hell are you talking about?" She saw them talking recently and decided that they knew each other. Young decided to tell her that they know each other, but this is not enough for everyone to think that they are a couple. Inghu laughed. She says that Young is a very tough fighter but not very smart. She says that ordinary people don't understand this, but not her. She sees people through. She heard a rumor that when the Iceflower Phoenix was young, an incident happened to her, after which she began to build a wall around herself. She thought it was fake until she met her at the tournament. She saw her icy eyes, and then she saw how Young was arguing with her and made the following conclusions. Iceflower Phoenix, who was always so cold, suddenly spoke to Young with such an expression. Young asked what she was trying to tell him. "She is my next opponent and I may be too rough during the duel," said the redhead. "And if you are a couple, I will apologize to you in advance, because what happens will look bad in the eyes of her partner." The red-haired devil finally admitted. Young said that she did not need to apologize to him. He met the Iceflower for a short time in childhood. They do not have a relationship. Young said that he was tired and would go to rest. He thought to himself that meeting the Ice Phoenix flower was simply ridiculous. Bloody Asura Whip was not satisfied with Young's answer and now has doubts. After Young's match, the following matches started to happen faster. There were victories for his buddy Wan Ho. The little dragon Buddha also continued to defeat Inferno from the Flame Yang sect. And then came the battle between Iceflower Phoenix and her rivals. Her opponent was the same Asura Bloody Whip from the Bloody Maiden sect. So the match started. Support from the spectators towards the flower was heard from the stands. Bloody Whip decided to chat a little before the fight. This is her first time seeing the Ice Phoenix flower so close and she notes that she is very beautiful. Iceflower doesn't care, she keeps her cool. Bloody Whip doesn't understand why Iceflower doesn't want to talk to her. Iceflower said that the Bloody Whip probably wants to fight with his mouth. Iceflower suggested focusing on the fight and Bloody Whip agreed with displeasure. Blood Whip prepared herself for battle and began swinging her whip. The referee saw that everyone was ready and announced the start of the fight. Bloody Whip waved and decided to attack first, pointing the end of her whip at the Iceflower's face. The Iceflower dodged and suddenly rushed towards her opponent to close the distance. Let's see what happens next. The Iceflower is already close to its red-haired rival. Bloody Whip doesn't see anything dangerous in this, she's having fun. She sees this as predictable behavior from her opponent. Iceflower blocks with her sword, and he also attacks back with the energy of his sword. We see how this technique worked. A hurricane force ice stream went towards the opponent of the Iceflower. Spectators from the stands shout words of support to their favorite. They clearly liked this reception. Wonho is worried and wants the Iceflower Phoenix to win, but Young just watches. Young knows that not everything is so simple, and Oinhu is not an easy opponent. The icy fog is dissipating. Bloody Whip did not expect such rudeness towards her. This reception upset Inha. Yunhua stood waiting for an answer. Yunhua thought that the blow did not cause much damage to her opponent, but she realized from this attack that her opponent was not so strong. Blood Whip wipes the blood from his nose and prepares to retaliate. Yunhua thinks her sword is a level faster than a whip. If he can use this, he can win. She thought that when she wins, she will assert herself even more. Thoughtful, she lost focus and did not have time to block the blow of the whip. Inhu was glad that she had caught her opponent and struck. The blow was so hard that it tore off part of the Iceflower's clothing. Inhu asked if the Iceflower wanted to continue the fight. "Are you ready to fight further?" The Bloody Whip asked, smiling. Inhu felt she had an advantage and laughed at Yunhua. Yunhua began to lose control. She screamed to shut her mouth. Again the blow of the whip is from the other side. The clothes are torn again by the whip and hit hard on the second hand. Bloody Whip continues to mockingly say that she is sorry and did not know that she would not be able to block the blow and the clothes were torn again. Probably because you're ashamed that part of your body is not covered, you are a woman not a fighter. Inhu continued to speak and put her foot on Yunhua's head. Yunhua got tired of this mockery and grabbed Ayane's leg with her hand. With screams, what does she know about it? Removing her foot, she stood up and swung her sword. Yunhua continued to say that she has no idea how hard she worked to get this far. The fight continued. Anger gave Yunhua strength. "You don't know anything," Yunhua shouted. "It's time to test how much of a fighter you are," answered the Bloody Whip. "And we will learn the difference between the shame of a woman and the pride of a martial arts fighter. Now we will find out what you will choose," finished speaking Bloody Whip. It looks like the whip reached Yunhua and her clothes again, causing her pain. Some spectators could not stand it and decided to leave. Because it no longer looked like an ordinary fight, more like the entertainment of one crazy woman. Yunhua continued to fight, her will is still strong and she will continue the fight. One of the spectators cannot understand why the fight is not stopped and shouts for it to stop. This must stop because this is not a duel but an inhumane mockery. The host thinks what to say and what decision to make. If we stop the fight now, she will never be able to hold the sword anymore, the host replied. You don't know how hard she worked on herself to become who she is now. He shouted to her, now we can only believe in it. Yunhua heard and swung her sword. Yunhua and Inhu continued their battle. You're not that badly injured, but your movements have become slower, said the bloody whip. She is trying to attack just to tear my clothes, thought the ice flower. She couldn't lose over something so small. She'd been through too much, she thought to herself. I have to focus on my opponent first. Yunhua continued to hit the whip with her sword. Oh my god, I see your thighs, continued to mock Inhu. She was distracted again and missed the blow of the whip. This time the whip hit his head. The blow was strong enough for Yunhua to fly to the side and fall. Yunhua lay on the floor of the ring, breathing heavily. You have to understand, you're not a martial artist or anything like that, the bloody whip of the Asura said directly. You're just a woman, Inhu summed it up. The fact is why I can't fight well to Malayangwa, because I was a little naked and distracted by this. I tried to hide this shame, maybe I'm really not meant for this. She remembered Yong's words. He told her that even when people look at his martial arts with contempt or criticize him, he's proud of his martial arts. He told her that she lost, not because she was weak, but because he was stronger than. She also needs to become stronger than this person. She stopped trying to cover her body and threw the cloth in her rival's face. Now she will fight differently, without being distracted by her uncovered flesh. You're no better than me when you use your dirty tricks. Yunhua shouted. Oh you bitch, Inhu shouted. I'm sorry that I haven't shown all my power yet. Yunhua replied. Blue energy engulfed Yunhua and she jumped with the sword at her opponent. Now I will show you everything I can do. Yunhua shouted and struck with her sword so that the bloody whip flew off from the blow. The spectators were shocked by what they saw. Yang is also shocked by what is happening. Welcome to the next level. Impossible. Damala Inhu and spit blood into the ring. This bitch was on the verge of death. How could she? Yunhua was preparing to finish off her enemy. There is no stopping her. Bloody whip stood up. She couldn't lose like this. Don't stop, Yunhua shouted. Inhu swung her whip with all her anger. The red streams of energy from her whip created an almost impenetrable defense. But not for Yunhua. She easily dodged the lashes and approached Inhu. Approaching Inhu, she struck with her sword. Yunhua's opponent is back on the floor. Writhe in pain, she whispered. How could you? Yunhua looked at her rival now as a predator and not a victim. But suddenly, Inhu grabbed her whip and swung it, attacking Yunhua, shouting. Don't you dare look at me from above. This was not a simple swing of a whip. It was a special technique. Yunhua repelled all the attacks of the whip, but the energy of the whip engulfed her. Bloody Whip thought it didn't work. Yunhua continued to stand and asked, is this all? Suddenly Yunhua felt something strange. Suddenly she just fell to the floor of the ring. She was paralyzed and could not move. Inhu was happy. Her dirty trick had worked. It seems that the ice phoenix flower has no energy left, Inhu said, and slowly started to get up. Did she really use some kind of poison? I can't move, Damala Yunhua. Asura's blood whip continued to approach Yunhua, continuing to say that she was surprised that she continued despite the humiliation and did she really think that she had become stronger. Bloody Whip Inhu decided to check how Yunhua would feel now if she destroyed her face. She swung her whip and aimed it straight at Yunhua's face. Yunhua was already preparing for the blow, but suddenly the blow did not happen. The whip stopped the small Buddha dragon with Wanho's hand. Blood splashed onto the floor from the blow. Everyone was shocked by this turn of events. Get away before I tear this hand off. Inhu screamed. Of course I apologize for my behavior, but you went too far in your actions. Wanho said, judging by the look in her eyes, she didn't like it very much. She threw down the whip and she said that's why I don't like orthodox bastards. She started calling for the referee. The referee came closer in fear and she asked the referee about the disqualification of participants if they interfere in fights during the tournament. This is true? Wanho picked up Yunhua and is going to help her leave the battlefield. The referee doesn't know what to answer because this is not simple. It's a question of morality. The audience is furious. They shout that she is a crazy bitch and heartless. The audience screams for her to get out of here and that they don't hate unorthodox bastards. But then the head of the tournament shouted throughout the stadium and called on everyone to shut up. The scream was so powerful that everyone heard his words. He said that the situation is difficult, but they call themselves orthodox for a reason. They must preserve traditions and their own rules. Little Buddha Dragon will be disqualified. Wonho helped the Iceflower Phoenix. School officials thank him for this. We want to reward you for your kindness, the teacher said. But Wonho said that everything is fine and there is no need to worry. He was more interested in how she felt. Her teacher said that thanks to him she was not seriously injured. She is very upset by the result of this match and wants to be alone. Okay, say get well soon, said the little dragon Buddha. The teacher agreed. Wonho left clearly in a good mood. The teacher couldn't understand how Wonho was in such a good mood. He should be upset about the disqualification, but he continues to worry about someone else. Amazing man, thought the teacher. The second student decided to have a fight with the teacher. He suspects that the fight was unfair. Everything is somehow strange. He says the bloody whip of the Asura clearly did some kind of trick. Yunhua could not have fallen so sharply. It looks like paralytic poison. The student expressed his opinion, but the teacher replied that it was enough to discuss this, it was all over, and there were no signs of poison or tricks. Yes, she most likely uses some kind of poison made using a special technology that does not allow it to be identified or detected. The teacher said, it is unlikely that the Murim Alliance will agree to stop the tournament so that we can figure this out. The student got very angry. He thinks that this is so unfair because she would have won if not for these tricks of the unorthodox bitch. He immediately apologized for such statements. Long heard this conversation standing not far away, and realized that Yumoa's loss was due to Inhu's dishonest game. 2 days later, the tournament continues. This is the semi-final of the Dragon Phoenix tournament. The fight is between Jan White of the Golden Tiger Wall and Inhu, Asura Bloodwhip of the Blood Maiden sect. The stands are waiting for the fight to start. It will be an interesting fight. Spectators are discussing that this is an unusual battle between the original Battle Berserker and the insidious Viper. On the one hand we see a renegade martial arts master, and on the other a villain whose heart is filled with evil. The fans don't know who to root for, because they don't really like both of them. Young remembered and thought about everything connected with Yunhua, and her defeat in the past and now. Again, a short conversation before the fight. Inhu says she expected such a fight to take place between two hotly debated figures in the tournament. She's trying to somehow hurt him with her words. She says that he has no protection. Her whip can hurt him without armor. He was tired of the arguing and said that she was too talkative. Enough of this chatter, let's get started, Young said. But before he could finish speaking, the end of the whip was already flying into his face. A cunning trick it was to be expected, but let's see what happens next. Inhu happily said that the orthodox guys are not very good, because they are proud and want to look good. That's why he will also lose. The fog that had risen cleared, and it became clear that the end of the whip was in Young's hand. Young says she is right, they are losing because of their pride. Young pulled the whip towards himself with all his strength. The bloody whip of the Asura flew up from this and will probably fall now. She was shocked by this. What the hell? Flew straight towards Yona. Young threw an elbow strike straight to the head. The Asura's bloody whip flew away. From such a blow, she somersaulted in the air and fell several times like a ball. The fall did not end in the ring, and she rolled out of the ring. She seems to have lost consciousness. Once again, the audience is shocked by what happened, but the audience liked it. They rejoice and shout that the amazing original martial artist is a berserker. The fight is over. Winner Yong Huite, Origin Martial Berserker. The head of the alliance liked the fight and praises Young for it. Inferno asks for what reason he called them both. The head of the Murim alliance congratulates them on reaching the finals. He is sorry that the little dragon Buddha is disqualified. Perhaps he would have stood here instead of Inferno. Inferno clearly didn't like this. He said that he was leaving if there was nothing more to say. Young also thought that why should he stay here? Wait, I haven't finished the conversation yet, the head of the alliance said. Everyone felt the pressure he created. A blue light was created in the air. Both participants in the tournament were tense and frightened by this, but then the head of the alliance exhaled and laughed. Why are you so scared? It's a joke. I won't eat you, said the head of the alliance. Okay, stop joking. The reason why I called you both here, the head continued, because you're both too suspicious. Yang could not stand it and asked what he was talking about, what he meant. To be honest, several elders and he complained about your suspicious origins. He continued, I looked at your documents and both origins are very suspicious. On the one hand, they are strange and at the same time too pure, says the head of the alliance. The original Battlemaster Berserker helped the Murim alliance during the incident in the Henin branch, and he was sent here by the Golden Tiger Wall. So there are no problems with his identification, but your records, John O, are too clean. It's strange. It was as if someone had specially cleaned them, the head continued to say. So he called them both here to sort it out. Therefore they need to interrogate them and they ask for cooperation. Young said that he is not against cooperation, but why question him? Because there are no problems with his identification and they know where he is from. The head of the alliance replied that it was because it was wrong for the indestructible flame to be allowed in alone. No one understood what the head of the alliance meant, but had to agree. Night has fallen and we see someone leaving the house of the head of the alliance. It was Yong. He was tired and didn't expect it to drag on until dark. The more he thought, the more he could not understand what was happening and why the leader of the Murim alliance was conducting the interrogation in person. The leader of the alliance was wondering where Yong learned such combat techniques and whether he had any other techniques that he had not shown. He thought it would be an interrogation, but it turned out that he just wanted to talk to him and he was very tired of it. He didn't know what to answer. He was also angry that the leader spoke disdainfully and mockingly about his technique and could not believe that with such martial art it was possible to reach the finals. But suddenly in the courtyard he met Yunhua. "Congratulations Origin Martial Berserker," she said. He didn't expect to see her and didn't know what to tell her. There was a silent pause. He told her that he was glad to see her and that she was already better, but then he thanked her for her congratulations and said that he needed a good rest before the final and began to leave. She said that she saw his fight with Enhu yesterday. He looked a little different than in training and decided to ask if it could be because I lost like that. Yunhua asked. "Or maybe I just made it all up?" She added. Yong replied that it seemed to her that he was fighting as usual. She replied that she knew that he would answer like that and lowered her eyes down. It's hard for her to talk about it, but she really cried in her house after the defeat. Yunhua admitted. She said that she was very upset to lose because she thought that this opponent was weaker than her. She was angry with herself for losing and couldn't stop crying. She thought that she was so pathetic. Young said that she was not pathetic. She reminded him that in his childhood he said that victory is the most important thing in battle, no matter how. He replied that he just wanted to win. He wanted to explain to her, but she interrupted him and said that she knew what he wanted to say. You simply wanted to say that whatever martial arts one uses, it's more important that they use it with the right mindset. She thinks she was jealous of him, who could say this with such pride. She believes that the Asura won the bloody whip because she did everything she could to win, and even more. On the other hand, she only thought about Young's victory and lost because of her own arrogance. Now she will be patient in her desire to become stronger than Yan. She will overcome all goals step by step to achieve this. Young listened and didn't know what to answer, so she wants him to put all his thoughts aside and focus on his next fight. Young thought about her words, and looking higher at the mountain, he saw Inferno standing. Yes, that's what really bothered him. He wanted revenge. He replied that he was complicating everything, and there was no need to worry, and he added that he has no choice. He must win. The leader's assistant informed him that the lie detector ball did not reveal any lies. The leader of the Murim alliance was surprised, but decided that their judgments were probably wrong because the lie detector ball had not deceived the ball before. But there was still a result. When they tested Inferno, they asked to put their hand on the ball that shows true or false. Young asked me to tell them about my past, starting from early childhood. When he was 7, he joined the Fiery Yang sect in Fujian province, but soon after, the sect was attacked. The city was on fire. Everyone except him was killed by unknown killers, and he was left alone among the ruins of the school. He went to the mountains and wandered there for a long time. One day he was lucky to meet a hermit, who having learned that he was from a sect, invited him to study the Yang fiery strike technique. After a while, he returned to his province and challenged the martial arts master who ruled this territory, Ji Chum-yun, to a fight, and he did not survive during the battle. Then he continued to travel around the province and challenge masters of non-traditional schools to battle. This journey ended with me deciding to take part in the Dragon Phoenix tournament in this place. It sounds a little far-fetched, but the ball didn't show a lie, which means he didn't make it up, the leader of the alliance and his assistant decided. Just like us, he doesn't like unconventional martial arts sects, the assistant expressed his opinion. The enemy of our enemy is our friend, isn't it? Asked the alliance leader's assistant. Well, tomorrow there will be a final and we will continue, but now we need to rest, proposed by the leader of the Murim Union. But before that, they still expressed who they thought would win. The assistant said that he would like Yong Hui to win, but most likely Inferno will win because he is stronger. The leader agreed with this. In any case, one of them will win tomorrow. The next day, hotel for visitors and participants of the tournament. Wonho knocks on the door and turns to Young with a reminder that the finals will begin soon and to wake up. It's strange to him that no one opens. He didn't see anyone coming out, maybe Young is still sleeping, when suddenly the door opens sharply and Young appears on the threshold. Wonho sees Young and asks him in surprise about what happened at night. Young is glowing, full of energy and ready to fight. But this time, people had already begun to gather at the stadium. Today, the largest number of people came to watch the final. Two guys are discussing which of them bet on whom. This guy says he bet on Origin Martial Berserker. The second one is surprised by his choice because he knows how much he doesn't like this fighter, but he believes that he has the potential to win. But his interlocutor still does not believe him that this is the only reason and mockingly tells him about it. He cannot stand it and begins to tell the truth that when he defeated the insidious Viper, he believed in him. He probably bet on the wrong one last time and is now worried that he might lose again. The friends decided to end this conversation and went to the stadium. The referee orders everyone to take their places as quickly as possible. The final of the Dragon Phoenix tournament begins, the referee says. The referee announces the participants. On the one hand, an expert in movement and palm strikes from the Flame Yang sect, the one who easily defeated his rivals, Jan O, nicknamed the Divine Flame Stride. On the other hand, one whose martial skill is disgusting, but at the same time captivating, the original martial berserker, Young White. With both fighters on stage, it will be a hot fight and a little talk before the fight. Young started first and asked if Jan had gotten enough sleep. He looked tired as if he hadn't slept all night. Even if I didn't sleep, it won't affect your defeat, Inferno replied. Great, so be it, replied Young. A blue aura glowed around him. Inferno clearly did not expect this and thought something bad about his opponent. Young seems to have reached a new level. Now it won't be easy for him to cope with him. Inferno decided to ask how Young managed to reach a new level of energy in one night, but Young modestly replied that he could not win if he did not do the same as his opponent. He simply raised his level of internal energy a little and became stronger. Even if you have reached a new level, it is not enough to surpass me, Inferno replied. The blue and purple aura collided together. The referee had to cover himself with his hand from such dazzling energy, probably the greatest battle of the referee's mind. The referee announced the start of the fight. Young launched the first attack and decided to use a technique from the Brazilian martial art. He jumped up. Doing a forward somersault, he pointed his leg straight at his opponent, but Inferno blocked with his hand. Inferno immediately attacked back with a wave of energy. Young somersaulted in the air and kicked Inferno in the side. Wonho and his master are surprised by Yona's amazing fighting technique. They believe that he has become much stronger since attending Shaolin. The time came for Inferno to attack. He concentrated his energy into his palms, creating two fireballs, a technique called Yang's Flame Strike. Young prepared for the impact and watched in surprise what was happening. At great speed, Inferno crashed straight into Young's chest, putting his fiery hands in front of him. This move is called the Double Flame Palm Strike. Young flew to the end of the stage, leaving a trail of flames. The smoke has cleared and we see Young. He is still with us. He is ready to continue the fight. Young takes off his chest armor and says with a smile that if Jean were a little faster, he would have made a hole in his chest. Inferno thought about his words and assumed that Jan's previous attacks were aimed at increasing the distance between them. If so, then this is not an accident. You have reached the level to withstand my attacks, said Inferno. If you think so, then try again, Young replied. Interesting, okay, then let's see how you react now, Inferno said and lit up again and attacked. Having again developed a furious speed, he began to close the distance to Young. Young remembered that like last time, at such a speed, it is impossible to suddenly change the trajectory. And this means it's time to flee in response. Young made a blow with his metal glove to meet the Inferno. Yes, Inferno couldn't go left or right, but he could jump. Looks like he has also grown in his skills since last time. Inferno now attacks from above. Because of his blow, Young remained open and Inferno took him out. The blow was struck in the face by a fiery palm. Just before the battle, Young meditated and in his thoughts simulated a battle with Inferno. He ran over 70 simulations, and in most cases he lost. It's like fighting a heavyweight while being a lightweight yourself. In the world in which he lived before reincarnation, it was not possible to become stronger in half a day. But in Murim, anything can become a reality. He achieved enlightenment. In Murim, if you have achieved enlightenment, you can grow strength even in half a day. Yes, Inferno is not at the same level as him, and he does not use any weapons like Jan. It's like he's fighting with himself, only with someone stronger. To win, Young must accept his power limitation and use it. He remembered his conversation with the Emperor's sword, who asked him a question about whether he thinks that his martial art represents freedom because, unlike ordinary martial arts, he does not adhere to any one technique. He compared his martial arts to a collection of some kind of mold. Young was shocked that the Emperor's sword compared his martial arts to mold. To be honest, in a past life, mixed martial arts were much stronger than individual martial arts. Therefore, many thought that martial arts was a scam. But in the world of Murim, everything that was not possible in a past life has become possible here. I have tried to apply MMA standards from a previous life until now. Fought Yong, the real fight begins now. Yong did a somersault and slammed Inferno into the floor. Inferno clearly didn't like it. While fighting, they used various techniques and easily repelled them. Yong attacks with Inferno. Inferno concentrates fire into his hand. Inferno fires his fireball at Yong, who dodges it. They fight equally like two twin brothers. Yong again uses the capoeira technique, but Inferno again does not fall for such a trick. Inferno tries to reach him with his fiery hand, and Yong grabs his clothes to throw him. But it was a deceptive maneuver, and Yong deals a crushing blow. People saw Yong using the illusion technique. The elders are also shocked. The elders realized that Yong had achieved enlightenment and reached a new level. Yong realized that he couldn't continue like this for long. He was using everything he had, but there was no result. The battle will be over as soon as one of them is the first to lose his vigilance. The fight continues. Yong strikes, Jan blocks, and repels. This is a bare-handed fight. The tension that Yong is experiencing now is similar to what he felt during the title fight in his previous life. Both fighters are exhausted. They are still evenly matched. Inferno said he was interested. Yong was surprised by this. Inferno compares Yong's techniques with the web he created. Without taking a specific position, he is not predictable. It is difficult to guess what he will use next time. Inferno feels the freedom in Yong's techniques without any certainty and burns him about it. Yong replied that perhaps he was envious or jealous. Inferno called Yong impudent and said that he would show him the real power of an indestructible physique. He gathered all his energy, and this time not only his palms burned, but his whole self. Flames burst from the eyes. Yong was a little happy that his opponent had a hidden card in his hand, and he took it out. "Your ass must be really burned," Yong shouted mockingly. Again, palm and fist met in battle, flame and cold. The leader of the alliance and his assistant no longer understood which of them was orthodox and which was unorthodox. But the leader is clearly upset about this. He shouts out that this is a real fight as it should be. Destroy everything here. Inferno attacks like a demon from hell, all on fire. Yong parries all attacks and delivers his own blows. Yong felt pain in his hands. It seemed that Inferno's blows had become harder. The speed of the Inferno increased, and so did his palms. But how long could he maintain this state of energy? Yong wondered. He is sure that Inferno will not last that long. Inferno grabbed Yong's hands and said, "You look upset." Inferno pressed on the armored bracers and they cracked, flying into pieces. Inferno lifted Yong by the hands, and he threw it with such force that the stage shattered into pieces, which flew high into the air from the explosion. There was little left of the stage, a lot of dust and fragments. The blast wave reached the stands. Inferno began jumping on the fragments as if on a path. He tried to find Yong and finish him off. Finally, he saw something blue and immediately rushed to grab it. But it turned out to be just a piece of fabric. It turned out to be a trap, and Yong's fist was already flying from the side towards Inferno's head. Yong managed to gain speed before the blow so that the blow would be crushing. Yong landed and his opponent flew into a pile of stones. Yong turned around to see what happened. It is clear that he is tired, and this is a difficult fight like everything before. Inferno stood up. How could they stand at all? Are they cyborgs or Terminators? Yes, this is Murim. Everything is possible here, and so they stand opposite each other. Have they really run out of tricks? Let's see further. Both fighters rush towards each other like magnets, gaining enormous speed. Inferno jumps up again and forms a fire dragon which he plans to launch at Yong. The fire dragon and continuous streams of fire headed straight towards the enemy. But Yong is not going to just wait. He also ran to meet Inferno. He needs to focus, gather in place all the techniques from his previous life with those that he has now. Yong began to run even faster. Like a lightning man, he walked away from the fiery shaft. Inferno is at a loss as to how someone can run even faster than him. He had no equal in this. Having seen where Yong stopped, Inferno turns there and is about to launch a new attack. Yong took an unusual stance for a counter-attack. Inferno is about to use Fireball again, but he uses the Kyokushin style of karate and Inferno takes a series of blows. Yong is breathing heavily. He is almost exhausted at the limit. Inferno falls. His fiery eyes have gone out. It seems there is no more energy. Yong says that he feels sorry for the one who fell. "This was a super fun fight, thank you," Yong said. The winner is Yong White from the Golden Tiger Wall School, nicknamed the Combat Eccentric. The Golden Tiger Wall's martial eccentric, Yeonwite, wins. Murim refers to a world of martial arts. Narration describes a great war between orthodox and demonic sects, resulting in a decisive orthodox victory and a subsequent era of peace. Illustrations show a large hand crushing a sword and a man being defeated. The narration explains that this peace fostered complacency among martial artists, hindering martial arts development and creating a sense of crisis, with martial arts displayed prominently. Sensing the decline, martial masters hosted the Dragon Phoenix meet to preserve martial arts, with elders gathered around a table featuring a dragon and phoenix design. Narration reveals that an unexpected individual won the 43rd Dragon Phoenix meet, the youngest son of the Golden Tiger Wall, one of the world's top 10 merchant guilds, as two men smile. Narration further clarifies that no one knows the victor's martial arts affiliation or training history, as other martial artists observe with curiosity. A new rising star has appeared, revitalizing the stagnant Murim as a group of martial artists look on. The identity of the rising star is confirmed. His name is Yeonwite, as his smiling face is shown in a close-up. Yeonwite stands calmly amidst the destroyed arena, looking confident and composed after his intense battle. The narration box declares Yeonwite to be the strongest champion in the history of the Dragon Phoenix meet. Yeonwite gazes upwards with a confident and serene expression, reflecting on his achievement or contemplating what comes next. A man on a platform dramatically announces the final special event, the Dragon Phoenix duel, where the current winner faces the previous champion to an excited crowd. Two martial artists clash mid-air, illustrating the Dragon Phoenix duel, the closing event where the current tournament winner faces the previous champion. Spectators murmur excitedly as narration explains that this battle between winners, though generally more celebratory, is often considered even more thrilling than the finals. The announcer, a man with a mustache, dramatically declares, "Now then, let's introduce the competitors." He uses a bizarre martial art, yet it's stronger than any other. Yeonwite is announced as the 43rd Dragon Phoenix meets champion, martial eccentric. As the excited crowd cheers, "Show us what you're made of today, too. I'm betting on you again this time. And you're so handsome." Yeonwite reacts with a sheepish, "Huh?" Well, his inner thoughts reveal that several days have passed since the finals, but the craze still hasn't cooled down thanks to the big match between the champions. A shining Heaven Ascension elixir, described as one of the champion's prizes that grants years worth of inner energy, is shown in a wooden box. Yeonwite glows with blue energy, noting he's overflowing with strength after consuming the elixir and confidently stating, Yeonwite's gaze hardens, as he reminds himself. "But I can't afford to be careless. After all, my opponent is none other." The previous champion, the Archer Empress, Seo Mayan, is formally introduced as the 42nd Dragon Phoenix meets winner, poised with her bow. From a distance, two men discuss their failed attempts to recruit Yeonwite. Wondering if their offered conditions were not tempting enough, one man suggests trying to coax Yeonwite again, to which another man with glasses replies with exasperation, "That's already the 30th time you've said that." The man with glasses asserts that Yeonwite isn't someone who can be tied down, explaining that he seeks freedom, just like his martial arts, and won't join the Murim alliance. The first man angrily tells the man with glasses to recruit Yeonwite himself, calling him better than anyone. The man with glasses sighs, "He's so annoying." The man with glasses then proposes recruiting Jang Oh, the runner-up, arguing that he, quote, the man with the mustache questions if the man with glasses is still suspicious of his background regarding Jang Oh. The man with glasses confirms that Jang Oh's truthfulness was already confirmed through proper investigation, but the mustache man admits something still feels off about him. The mustache man expresses a strong intuition to be cautious of that guy, then asks the man with glasses, "Should we look into him more thoroughly?" The mustache man waves off the discussion about Jang Oh, suggesting, "Nah, forget it, let's talk about that later," and shifts topic to ask, "Who do you think will win between those two?" The two competitors are contrasted. Seo Mayan, a renowned martial master, and Yeonwite, who has only just ascended to that level recently, though the man with the mustache finds him quite a peculiar fellow. The man with glasses observes the two as complete opposites, concluding that the outcome is already somewhat obvious. The man with the mustache, identified as the Murim alliance leader, concedes he knows the likely outcome, but admits he, quote, can't help being curious. Murim alliance leader concludes his thoughts by stating, "I want to see how they'll handle a matchup of total opposites." Yeonwite smiles confidently, and greets Seo Mayan, asking, "It's been a while, Mayan, are you ready?" Seo Mayan, holding her bow, responds, "Of course, I've fully prepared myself to face you, my dear martial eccentric." To which Yeonwite humbly replies, "Ha, I'm honored." Seo Mayan glows with red energy, gripping her bow and warning Yeonwite, "You'd better be prepared." Yeonwite radiates blue energy, grins fiercely, and declares, "That's exactly what I was hoping for." The announcer raises his arm, signaling the start of the duel by stating, "If both participants are ready." Close-ups show Yon Wei-tae and Seo Mayan's focused expressions as the announcer continues, "Let the Dragon Phoenix duel." The announcer shouts, "Begin," as Yon Wei-tae springs forward with blue energy, while Seo Mayan launches an attack with a fiery red arrow. A close-up shows a foot with a red glow, suggesting swift movement as the duel intensifies. Yon Wei-tae attacks from above with blue energy, while Seo Mayan counters with a powerful red energy arrow from below, marking the explosive start of their battle. Yon Wei-tae grunts as he is caught in a powerful pink energy blast, recoiling from the impact of Seo Mayan's attack. Yon Wei-tae is sent falling backward, looking up in shock as intense pink energy bursts violently around him from the sustained attack. Yon Wei-tae swiftly regains his footing, initiating a dynamic taekwondo maneuver with a blue energy surge around him. Yon Wei-tae unleashes a powerful spinning back kick, generating a wide, arcing blue energy wave as he attacks. Yon Wei-tae, with a focused expression, internally considers that a continuous attack is bound to have openings as Seo Mayan prepares her next move. Yon Wei-tae is struck again by a purple energy attack, which impacts forcefully around his upper body, causing him to stagger. Yon Wei-tae realizes the immense power of Seo Mayan's headless, energy-infused arrows, noting that without his gauntlets, his arm would have been pierced. Yon Wei-tae continues to assess Seo Mayan, finding her light-as-a-feather footwork more troublesome than her powerful attacks, contrasting it with his own explosive style. Yon Wei-tae internally struggles with Seo Mayan's agility, feeling his footwork won't catch her, like trying to hit a feather with a boulder. Yon Wei-tae, with his eyes closed and blue energy flickering around him, determines that there is only one way left to achieve victory. Seo Mayan maintains her intense focus, acknowledging to herself that she has successfully, quote, built up momentum during the duel. Yon Wei-tae gathers blue energy, contemplating that his former self wouldn't have dared this, but the Heaven Ascension Elixir's power makes it possible. Yon Wei-tae confidently challenges Seo Mayan, declaring that she cannot expect to keep fighting him from a distance. Yon Wei-tae unleashes my fist energy as a massive blue energy blast descends towards Seo Mayan from above. The scene transitions to a peaceful, bright sky and a horse-drawn carriage moving along a road, implying the conclusion of the battle. A bandaged woman, identified as In-yi, expresses furious disbelief, questioning if that bastard ended up winning, huh? In-yi angrily laments that Yon Wei-tae ruined her face, completely humiliated her, and even took the championship, declaring it too much. In-yi furiously shouts, "I swear I'll kill him," while another woman urges her, "In-yi, please calm down," as a third woman looks on anxiously. The calm woman reassures In-yi, telling her to endure a little longer, as they are already searching for an assassination group to help them. The calm woman explains that a guy who agreed to help will be present, and they will commence their revenge the moment that bastard appears as a shadowy figure looms behind her. The calm woman advises In-yi to focus on recuperating, while In-yi lies sobbing sob from her injuries. The calm woman clenches her jaw, seething about how Yon Wei-tae dared to ruin In-yi's face and bring disgrace to their sect. The man who was Yon Wei-tae holds a circular object, his mind filled with questions. Where is this place, and who am I, indicating memory loss? The man with bandaged face holding the object reflects. Having no thoughts doesn't mean there's nothing to think. If I don't think, then I don't exist. A close-up reveals the man's bandaged mouth and a slight grimace on his face. The man questions his own thought. What kind of idiotic thought is that? I didn't exist in this place to begin with. While Seo Mayan, seated opposite, muses, "It's not that, is it?" Seo Mayan eyes the man, wondering, "Geez, is this really the same guy who was so sharp before?" and asks if the loss was really that shocking for you? The man smiles wryly, stating that the shocking part isn't simply losing, but that he, quote, was completely defeated. The man recalls his past defeats, including losing to Jang Ho and later to the Sword Emperor and Plum Blossom Warrior during training. The man remembers suffering defeats even before he became the strongest champion in his past life, as a victorious man raises his arm in a championship ring. The man with a bandaged face tells Seo Mayan that despite his past defeats, this was the first time he couldn't even touch his opponent, making this loss particularly shocking. He recalls how, during their fight, whenever he tried to close the distance to strike Seo Mayan, she would simply step back and fire another arrow, anticipating his moves. He remembers his belief that his renowned, 100 bewildering footwork would be sufficient to finally catch her during their duel. However, he quickly realized her footwork was a superior mobility art, rendering his, quote, 100 bewildering footwork no match for it, as Seo Mayan deftly aimed an arrow. The man complains that Seo Mayan's strategy of running and shooting arrows was cowardly, but she counters, asking how an archer is supposed to fight otherwise, and points out he also used his fist energy. The man grumbles that his sloppy energy blast drained his internal energy, leaving him unrecovered, while Seo Mayan remarks that she can clearly see he's still weak. The man then reflects that this experience painfully confirms his weakness against ranged attacks, and acknowledges the critical need to find a way to overcome this disadvantage. He concludes that the potential solution to overcome his weakness might be available to him right where he is now. Seo Myong presents a cylindrical object to the man, reminding him it is the reward from the job she previously mentioned. Seo Myong confirms the reward is, quote, an advanced cultivation technique that could harmonize opposing energies and was highly stable, which was precisely what he had requested, surprising him. The man explains that his martial arts had reached a plateau at the Hainan branch, prompting him to seek a way to evolve them, and he concluded that mastering elemental attributes was the answer. He elaborates that while learning a single attribute is achievable, he became ambitious and sought a cultivation technique capable of harmonizing multiple different attributes. The man expresses his excitement, stating he only asked Seo Myong with slim hope, but since she holds a high position in the Murim alliance, she truly found it, calling it a, quote, jackpot. The man looks at the provided scroll with surprise, muttering in confusion, what is this? Chai Huan Wu. Seo Myong explains this as Chai Huan Wu, a, quote, mad destructive hermit who illegally modified a Wudong sect technique after rising through the ranks. The man asks if it's true that Chai Huan Wu created a technique harmonizing different elements. Seo Myong adds that the Wudong sect banned the technique as unstable and dangerous, exiling him. Seo Myong advises him not to get his hopes up too much, but admits such stories often hold truth. She states this is all the information she can give, prompting the man to ask if he must find the person himself. Seo Myong confirms his assumption, explaining that if the Murim alliance were to directly provide such a dangerous manual, the Wudong sect would strongly protest. Seo Myong warns that a strong protest from the Wudong sect over the manual could destabilize the balance of the entire Jianghu, illustrating her point with a scene of burning flags. She explains the Murim alliance's conclusion was to only provide clues about techniques similar to what he requested, making it entirely his responsibility to obtain it. The man accepts, acknowledging his request was excessive, and that he wouldn't want to cause conflict among the major sects, declaring himself satisfied with the outcome. Seo Myong declares the transaction complete. The man stands to leave, explaining he still has other matters to attend to. The man adds that it wouldn't be good for rumors to spread about a man and woman chatting alone late at night, then thanks Seo Myong for the information on the cultivation technique. As he turns to leave, Seo Myong stops him, instructing him not to blame himself too much for losing to her, which causes him to pause and question her remark. Seo Myong explains his loss was simply due to his inexperience in fighting against archers. Seo Myong confidently states that if the man were more accustomed to fighting against ranged attacks, she would have been the one to lose their duel. Seo Myong smiles warmly, emphasizing her earlier remark about his potential to have won if he were more experienced with ranged combat. Under the moonlight, the man examines the manual, noting that Se Huan Wu's last known location near Mount Huiji in Zhejiang province is not too far. The man lies down, contemplating that he knows the location and only needs to find Se Huan Wu, but then realizes there is one specific place he needs to visit first. The man, having located his target, expresses readiness to find him. However, he immediately revises his plan, revealing he must visit a crucial place before commencing the search. The man visualizes his future training, planning to learn ranged martial arts, acquire secret elemental-based attack techniques, and then use divine-level cultivation to expand the range of his martial arts. He acknowledges that elemental attacks can be ranged, but notes they are typically devastating finishers that are powerful yet consume a lot of internal energy. The man decides to first learn a basic ranged technique like finger bullet, and then infuse it with elemental power to create highly efficient, high-destruction elemental projectiles. Lying down, the man smiles widely, pointing his fingers like a gun and exclaiming, "Damn, this is a dream for men." He believes he can afford the necessary manuals for finger bullet and elemental arts, with the prize money from the Dragon Phoenix meet, and plans to depart immediately after receiving it. No, wait, who knows when that reward will even come. Sitting around and waiting isn't my style. Since I've said it, I'm going now. With a determined smirk, the man decides to set off on his journey without further delay. Mount Huiji in Zhejiang province is depicted, described as a scenic and peaceful location, with legends of King Gujuan and Prince Fuchsia of Wu from the spring and autumn period. A shopkeeper lies slumped outside a building at the base of Mount Huiji, sighing dejectedly about his hopes of making a living from tourists. The shopkeeper, an older man with a beard, grumbles about his poor decision to settle there, lamenting, "Peace of mind my foot, I really shouldn't have settled here." The narration explains the shopkeeper moved to the scenic location to live out his twilight years peacefully, away from Beijing's bustle, after his health deteriorated. The shop is shown with falling leaves, and the narration reveals that despite knowing business wouldn't boom, the shopkeeper never expected it to be so utterly deserted. The shopkeeper sits disheartened, muttering that he's about to starve and might have to return to Beijing, worried for his health. "Excuse me, is this the Shinbo shop that sells rare items at cheap prices?" The shopkeeper is startled, recognizing the speech pattern, and realizing that a person has finally arrived. The shopkeeper's eyes widen in surprise as he joyfully realizes he's a customer, while the man smiles cheerfully. The shopkeeper enthusiastically welcomes the man, confirming his shop is the Shinbo shop, known for having everything and offering items cheaper than other establishments. The shopkeeper asks what the man is looking for, who replies he needs a couple of martial art manuals, adding he's not too concerned about how powerful they are. "I'm open to any type." The shopkeeper assures the man they have a vast array of manuals, and the man then specifies that he wants to start with manuals focused on specific attributes. The man lists an extensive range of desired manuals: poison arts, heat arts, ice arts, stealth arts, lightning arts, and if possible, demon-suppressing arts as well, shocking the shopkeeper with, "Yeah, you want that many?" The man asks if he requested too much, but the shopkeeper quickly reassures him, confirming they carry all the basic techniques he mentioned. The shopkeeper sweats nervously, contemplating the man's request and the cost. The shopkeeper hesitates, mentioning that purchasing them all might be a little expensive, while the man grins with an air of confidence, surrounded by ominous energy. The man confidently dismisses the shopkeeper's concern about money, which prompts a puzzled look from the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper gasps in surprise, "Ho," as the man prepares to show him something. The man kneels and opens a wooden box, revealing it's filled with shining gold bars, confidently stating, "I'll have plenty left, even after buying everything I need." Shopkeeper stares in utter disbelief, realizing the shabby-looking box was full of money. The man, holding a gold bar, asks the delighted shopkeeper, "Oh, and there's one more thing I'd like to ask. I heard someone with the nickname, quote, eccentric immortal lives here on Ouija. Do you know of him?" The shopkeeper, still clutching a gold bar, replies that he's only been there for a year, and isn't familiar with everyone, to which the man simply says, "I see." The shopkeeper then asks the man if he plans to go up the mountain, and the man confirms, "Yes, I do." The shopkeeper advises the man against climbing the mountain, stating it might not be his place as a merchant, but he strongly recommends against it. The man, surprised, immediately asks for the reason behind the shopkeeper's warning. The shopkeeper, sweating nervously and still holding a gold bar, explains that he hasn't seen the reason himself, but there are rumors circulating about the mountain. The shopkeeper reveals there's a demonic beast on the mountain. The man repeats in surprise, "A demonic beast," as the shopkeeper appears distressed, describing the ominous presence. The shopkeeper explains that the demonic beast isn't particularly large, but moves unpredictably, and has attacked those who have attempted to climb the mountain. The shopkeeper laments that the beast's presence caused all tourists to stop visiting Ouija, forcing him to consider leaving. The man appears thoughtful, pondering the news of a demonic beast. The man declares that the presence of a demonic beast makes him want to climb the mountain even more. The shopkeeper, shocked, frantically warns him, "Yes, you shouldn't, wait, you're still planning to go?" The man, smiling, acknowledges the shopkeeper's concern, but dismisses it, while the shopkeeper still anxiously holds the gold bar, eyeing the box full of wealth. Looking up at the majestic mountains, the man confidently declares that he cannot resist his curiosity, and intends to proceed with his climb. The man enters the serene mountain forest, and a thought bubble appears, signaling his next step with a contemplative, "Now then." Walking deeper into the forest, the man reviews his newly acquired manuals, deciding to focus on supplementing his weakest areas with poison and demon-suppressing arts, but choosing to begin with lightning-based arts first. The man's face is set with determination as he continues his journey through the woods, clutching a martial arts manual firmly in his hand. The man questions if he's reached the spiritual power spot mentioned by the shopkeeper, then expresses awe at the incredible and vast mountain view. The man expresses frustration, noting that despite information stating someone resides on the mountain, he has searched all day, but found no one. The man recounts his skepticism regarding the martial arts sect's information about a martial artist on the mountain who can teach all common techniques, finding it absurd and strange that such a powerful individual would remain undisturbed. Standing at a cliff's edge, the man sighs, stating that if the information proves to be nonsense, he will be really disappointed. Neon. A dark, ominous presence with a glowing red eye and streaks of red energy appears, signaling an unseen threat or a sudden attack. The man's eye widens in shock, and a burst of blue energy emanates around him, indicating a sudden realization or activation of power. The man reacts swiftly, twisting his body into a defensive stance, and sharply demands, "Who's there?" in response to the unseen presence. The man, looking back, confirms he felt a faint energy, saying, "That was definitely a faint energy just now," as he senses something unseen. The man deduces that the aura he sensed indicates at least a peak martial master, then wonders if it could be the beast the shopkeeper had warned him about. "Alright then, if you won't come out, I'll find you myself." The man's perspective shifts to a grayscale vision as he decides to amplify his senses, believing he can detect even a peak martial master's hidden presence. In the amplified, grayscale vision, a glowing red spot appears in the grass, indicating a hidden presence, and the man confidently states, "I'll definitely catch them." The man, enveloped in blue energy, lunges with a punch, exclaiming, "There you are," as he targets the red-eyed creature partially visible below. A powerful, unseen force causes a massive section of the mountain cliff to violently break off and crumble, indicating an immense impact. The man lands gracefully amidst falling debris, his fist still clenched, observing the spot where his attack landed, with a faint blue aura around him. The man's face contorts in shock and confusion, with sweat beading as he mutters, That's strange. I'm sure it was here just a moment ago." The man looks down, seemingly dumbfounded, at a small squirrel perched on a tree branch, trailing off with, "That's a." A close-up reveals the demonic beast is actually a small, dark squirrel with glowing red eyes, posed menacingly, making the man question, "Squirrel?" The man stands completely bewildered, staring at the small squirrel, which simply sits on a branch and emits a tiny squeak, completely undercutting his previous assumptions. The man reacts in disbelief, spitting out whatever he was holding, as the absurdity of his recent encounter with a demonic beast that turned out to be a mere squirrel sets in. The man bursts into uproarious laughter, calling himself an idiot for believing a squirrel could be a demonic beast, while the little squirrel looks on with a confused Q sound. The man, now calm, apologizes to the squirrel for his sudden attack, explaining he was on edge, and promises to bring it acorns if they meet again before walking away. The man pauses, his expression turning thoughtful, as he realizes that something about his recent encounter with the squirrel was indeed strange. The man recalls his internal energy-infused attack, pondering how the small squirrel neither ran away nor flinched, despite the power he put into his strike. The man dismisses his peculiar thoughts about the squirrel's resilience with a confident, "Nah," a smirk playing on his lips as he continues his journey. The man's eyes widen in disbelief, exclaiming, "No way," as the small squirrel suddenly lunges towards him, surrounded by an ominous red energy trail. The squirrel delivers a shocking, powerful blow directly to the man's face, making him recoil and cry out, "Gah!" as intense impact sounds echo. The man is knocked off his feet and sprawls onto the ground, defeated by the squirrel's unexpected attack, while the squirrel stands smugly on a nearby log. The man lies injured on the ground, clutching his head and cursing the damned squirrel, then suddenly realizes with a shocked expression that the powerful energy he sensed earlier might have belonged to the squirrel. The squirrel, now visibly menacing with a wide grin and enlarged form, confirms its power with that squeak, causing the man's face to contort in utter horror and dawning realization. The man rises, angered by the squirrel's deception, and confronts it, declaring, "Seriously, you lowly creature, you dare make a fool of me?" With a terrifyingly enraged expression, the man vows, "If I catch you, you're dead meat," to the squirrel, while an ad for asuraskins.com is displayed below.